Home of the Sports Bash with Mike Gill, 97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City.
And we are live on a Thursday edition of the Sports Bash, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, live video streaming on the 97.3 ESPN YouTube channel and on the X platform at Mike Gill Show. What's going on, everybody? This is the Sports Bash. Scott Grayson, of course, our annual tradition live here on Radio Row, and it's been a morning already, Scott.
Wow. Thursday's living up to the hype, right?
It is so far. By the way, Kurt Warner was just standing there. I think I had the video of the entire weekend, though, on my Twitter page, at Mike Gill Show. I'm sitting here. By the way, Eric Gordon just got traded, so the Sixers are making some moves. The deadline is coming up. I'm sitting here, and you're sitting here, too. And all of a sudden, Emmitt Smith comes walking towards us. And over comes Jerry Rice. And Jerry Rice is saying, yo, Emmitt, yo, Emmitt. And Emmitt doesn't hear him. And it's almost like he was big-timing him, right?
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, the two hug it out, have a huge embrace, and just start having a conversation. You can check out the video at Mike Gill Show. But it's been that kind of day. We've seen Christian McCaffrey. Kurt Warner was just right there. Bijan Robinson. Cooper DeJean, Reed Blankenship, they're here, and we're trying to get them to come over to our set in just a little while today. Also, we got a chance to, or I should say Scott had a chance. You caught up to Jordan Love and asked him about the new Eagles offensive coordinator, Sean Mannion. You also had a chance to catch up with Jordan Mailata and asked him about the huge news that happened right when we got off the air yesterday that Jeff Stoutland is no longer a part of the Eagles coaching staff. And I'll tell you, we're down here in San Francisco, 3,000 miles away, and this story has rumbled its way to San Francisco. So as we start this show off, we got so much to do today, including some great guests, some great interviews, all coming up. We talked to Keyshawn Johnson this morning.
Yep.
We'll play that interview for you a little later. Keyshawn Johnson, we'll ask him about A.J. Brown. Would he – there's Donovan McNabb.
Donovan McNabb, yeah.
Would would Keyshawn Johnson like to be in this offense? What does he think about how creative or hitch routes or whatever you want to say about the Eagles offense? What does he think about it? You don't want to miss that interview with Keyshawn Johnson later on in the show. Yesterday we recorded with Romeo Doubs, who played for Sean Mannion. Now today the Eagles have hired the replacement run game coordinator for Jeff Stoutland. His name is Ryan Mahaffey. Why is he significant? He was the wide receivers coach for Dobbs. Now, full disclosure, we interviewed Dobbs yesterday, and we will air that interview either today or tomorrow. We did not get a chance to ask him about Mahaffey because we didn't know what was happening.
No, and look how quickly they replaced the run game coordinator, right, with Jeff Stoutland, at least that part of it. And I do want to throw out there yesterday, I did see A.J. Brown out here. I did walk up to him and try to talk to him. He's consistently staying with the stance he had back in Philly, which is he wasn't talking to the media here today. I was the only one around him just trying to talk to him about that. Didn't happen, but he did not want to talk.
So A.J. Brown is here, but he did not want to talk.
Yeah, we'll see if he'll be around again today. But he's not one to shy away from this kind of media.
Jordan Mailata. He was here about an hour ago. We saw him. You saw him. You did talk to him and did ask him a question. Here is what Jordan Mailata told Scott Grayson.
Jordan, one quick question. What's your thoughts on Jeff Stoutland?
I can't talk about that right now.
Really?
Yeah, I can't.
How tough is that?
I can't talk about it.
Now, you got to see his face and talk to him. Was he, number one, shocked? Was he, kind of thrown off that he was asked about Stoutland in this situation? He obviously, though, did not want to make any comment about Stoutland. And the ripple effect is starting to say, how much is this Sirianni? And how much is there some sort of infighting in the organization? And it feels weird that a team that won the Super Bowl not so long ago, you're talking about, is this thing crumbling down? And it's funny. We're talking to a lot of people here, and the guy behind us is from the Detroit Free Press, and we're laughing about how impactful of a story the offensive line coach is in Philadelphia. You don't get a story of that magnitude in any other town.
Well, I don't think you get Jordan Mailata to be the guy he is without Jeff Stoutland and all he did to develop him. Stoutland developed a lot of great players. And when you take that interaction I had with Jordan Mailata and just add a little color to it, combine it with the fact that we were supposed to potentially have Cam Jurgens stopping by one of these days, either yesterday, today, or tomorrow, and he canceled because he did not want to talk about the Jeff Stoutland thing. So they don't want to talk about it. And if I put in the color of the facial reaction that Jordan Mailata made, I think these guys were genuinely shocked and are still stunned by this news. And I think that they're trying to find a way to deal with it while still managing all that this is to try to promote themselves as players and what they bring. And so I think there's genuine shock and surprise there.
I think there's genuine shock and surprise. And then the next question becomes, how does this affect Lane Johnson moving forward?
I think it's a great question, right? Because my initial thought was from all the interactions I've had with Lane over time that Lane wasn't going to let his career end by injury the way that it did, at least give it one more shot. And that didn't, we'll see if that happens, whether or not he's willing to do that without Jeff Stoutland here, or whether he decides this is an indicator that it's time for him to step away. I think the Eagles need Lane Johnson at least for another year. I don't feel like they have enough depth on that line right now, and I think that they could potentially try to solve some of that in the draft.
So, Stoutland, let's talk about the impact it has on the Eagles, because there's now a lot of layers of the onion that we start to peel. There's some reporting that, multiple reports here, okay? Let's get the timeline. That he was stripped of the run game coordinator duties, and that didn't go over so well. And then when did he get stripped of the run game coordinators? Now, we do also have some other news. Jeff McCain reported last night that Vic Fangio will, in fact, remain. So that is one fire that seemingly has put out.
And I did talk to Cooper DeJean and Reed Blankenship today about what Vic Fangio has meant to them and about him coming back. So there's at some point we might be able to play that. We might have them actually sitting here at some point and get to talk to him about that.
Yeah, our hope is Cooper and Reed are working with Bounty today, and we have talked to some of the Bounty people about trying to get them.
Nikki Earnshaw is working it hard.
Well, you got to remember, you got to work your magic. Now, Earnshaw has a little magic there where the handler for the Bounty person went to Rutgers Camden, so he's trying to utilize. But that's the game you got to play.
Yeah.
So we're trying to talk to them about bringing them over here, and that would be between
1 and
3 and 4,
yeah.
or 4 and 5.
4 and 5.
So in the 4 o'clock hour is when we're hoping that we get Cooper and Reed. They would be on together to come over and talk to us a little bit. Now, as you said, you saw A.J. Brown walk around. You saw Jordan Mailata walking around. Everybody's talking about Jeff Stoutland, but nobody wants to answer what happened and why. And then, okay, I did see Jeff McCain, who is here is also, and we are trying to get Jeff to come over to the table as well. He is down here. He says, here's what I know right now per sources. The decision was Stoutland's. The Eagles wanted him back as the offensive line coach, but not as the run game coordinator. If you are Philadelphia, there's two ways you could look at this. How dare you strip him of his duties? Or do you look at it from the positive side and say, they're evolving? This is a clear sign that they are ready to evolve and change the offense.
That's the way I look at this, that they are looking to make this offense look very different. And I think as fans, you're excited about that because it started to look pretty stale here over the last couple of years. So you look at Stoutland and you look at that and you say, okay, I think what happened here was Stoutland didn't potentially like some of the concepts they were going to be looking to do as an offense and therefore decided, you know what, I don't know that I want to continue to do this. I don't know that the run game coordinator part of it mattered as much as whether he just didn't agree with some of the offensive concepts they're going to try to do and didn't want to be a part of working the line into that.
So here's some more reporting from Jeff McCain. He says he wouldn't have oversaw the run game. He would certainly be part of it, but with the new scheme, the team felt it was necessary to make that change. Stoutland, in turn, felt it was time to make a change himself. He is likely to take some time off. He does think, McCain does, that teams will be interested in need of an offensive line coach who will reach out for one of the best to ever do it. The Eagles expected to remain part of the organization. So, you're no longer the offensive line coach, you're no longer the run game coordinator, but you can hang out. So,
well, and meanwhile,
this is where it's weird to say, is it all burning down, or is it, hey, listen, Jeff, you've done a great job, we're going to bring in these new guys, we got to start evolving this offense a little bit, and I'm sorry, like, we want you to teach the offensive linemen, we're going to turn this thing over at some point.
I think what it indicates, Mike, is that there is full autonomy for Sean Mannion. We've wondered about that, right? Because he's getting to put in his system the way he wants it, and it's causing the change, the evolution in this offense to where it is. And I think the coaches that they were thinking about, like a Jeff Stoutland staying on, he decided, I don't want to be a part of this offense.
Yeah, something's going on around it here. I'm not really sure what's happening, but there's a lot of Bryce Young. Oh, there's Bryce Young. Right. Oh, he's behind you. I didn't see him behind you.
I saw Trevor Lawrence walking around earlier, too.
CeeDee Lamb just walked by. Bryce Young is right behind us to our right here. So we're kind of boxed in between CeeDee Lamb and Bryce Young at this moment. Maybe we do have Lindsey Rhodes coming over as well, who used to work for the NFL Network. We had Lindsey on last year, and she was such a fun interview with what she does now with Sumer Sports. She'll be joining us here at, I don't remember the time, but it's like in a couple of minutes. It's 11:20 or 30. I got to relook at the list. That being said, there is so much here, because I want to ask Lindsey, and I've been asking a lot of people this question. In what other town is the offensive line coach leaving as impactful as it is in Philadelphia? Yeah, I don't think anywhere. Although I was talking to the guy behind us from the Detroit Free Press, and I said, where else do you even know who the offensive line coach is? And he did say Hank Fraley is the offensive line coach in Detroit. And the only reason that I know that is because Hank was obviously a player here. But he did talk about, it was a good conversation with Dave, who covers the Lions, about Fraley is not a command the room kind of guy. So therefore, doesn't think he profiles well as an offensive coordinator, better in the role that he's in. And one of the things he said about Morton, who got blown out of there this year, was the same thing. Wasn't a command the room kind of guy. There's coaches, as he explained to me, it was a very cool conversation. He explains this. There are certain coaches who are good, but they're grinder coaches. They're grinders. They work hard. They do all the behind-the-scenes stuff. And then other ones are photogenic. They remember everything. They can tell you a play from the fourth drive of the third game, and he's like, that's the guy you need to go find, not the guy who's the grinder. And I talked about this before. You really don't want to try to find, like Kevin Patullo, if your resume starts to stretch down the Wikipedia page and it's offensive assistant, run game. Like, you want to find the guy who goes from offensive assistant to running backs coach to offensive coordinator almost in like a 3 to 4 year jump, not a grinder. And that's not bad to be the grinder, but I think that was a cool point by him.
Yeah, and just a little bit more on Stoutland. I remember last year I talked to Jeff Stoutland at the Super Bowl about his offensive line and how he made it into what it was, and the run game with what it was with Saquon last year. And I think Stoutland's a guy who he does command the room, and he does command respect from his players. And, that is an old school kind of mentality. I don't know if that does exist very much anymore. And it's great that the Eagles are saying they want him to be a part of the organization, but I don't know that Stoutland's done coaching. I don't think be surprised if a bunch of teams are knocking on his door right now.
He wrote in the tweet last night, my time with the Eagles has come to an end.
He did not indicate anything about retirement.
My time with the Eagles has come to an end is what he typed out. And I would imagine that means that he will, and listen, I'll tell you what, first thing is, if I'm John Harbaugh, call. If I'm Dan Quinn, call. If I'm Marty Schottenheimer's son, what's his name?
Oh.
Schottenheimer?
Yeah.
What is it?
Brian
Schottenheimer, yeah. Marty's son. If I'm Brian Schottenheimer, call.
Yeah.
Those three teams, immediately you make that call. And you make it like you let me go. I don't know. Is he like I got people messaging me here at Mike Gill Show the Nick Sirianni experience. Is it fair to blame Nick in this situation? Or do we think Nick put his big boy pants on and finally said, we got to do something different?
Well, I wonder if what you wonder is, was this set in motion when they removed the run game coordinator from him? You know, was that insulting enough to him where he said, you know what, I'm going to finish the season and figure this out? Or is it the new offense that they're going to run that he just doesn't agree with, whether it's more under center, more motion, more different things they're trying to do with that running game that he doesn't necessarily want to be a part of?
There's two ways you can look at this. That Nick handled it poorly, and there was a report from Tim McManus. I did see this. That basically insinuated that Sirianni kind of insulted
Stoutland.
And if that's the case, did he insult him by saying, I'm going to turn over the duties to Patullo?
Jeez. Yeah, I can see how that would be insulting.
Right, and then I did see a stat that the run game from where it started in the first half of the year to the second half of the year, the drop. I don't know. I don't know what to make of Sirianni's role in this, because I look at it as two ways. Sirianni either said it's time for us to evolve and move on, to which I give him credit, or he insulted him and this thing is falling apart. Which side of the coin are you on?
I don't believe Sirianni had the power to make that decision. I think the whole thing with Patullo was decided by Howie and Jeffrey. I think they felt there needed to be a change because Patullo and Sirianni were pretty tight, and I can't imagine how hard it is to have to say.
Josh, what did you just tell me?
I think it's pretty hard to imagine, being able to tell Patullo that Nick coming up with that on his own, to have to get rid of Patullo, because I think those two were pretty tight.
So according to Tim McManus, Stoutland was not consulted. Hey, Mad Dog. Philly in the house. Mad Dog. Stoutland was not consulted about the change to what he felt was an appropriate degree, a league source said, to the point where he no longer desired the title of run game coordinator because he felt it no longer fit his job description. So they're saying that he didn't feel there was an appropriate, hey, man, you're no longer the run game coordinator. We're just kind of doing it without your input.
Yeah, and I think that, yeah. So he was kind of pushed out of the position and didn't really want it anymore. It doesn't sound like it.
He was almost like, if you're not going to use me, then I don't want to be here.
Right, and I think that's the problem with what these players are feeling right now. And I don't know if there's a little bit of, looking back to the conversation I had with Mailata, I don't know if there's a little bit of anger as well. Like, dude, you left us. I just think right now they're very surprised.
That's an interesting point. The players feel betrayed by the fact that he left without telling them.
Yeah, it all just kind of happened and surprised everybody, including them. And I think they're still just
including us. We got done yesterday here at 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock Eastern, and that came down almost right when we got off the air, and we're like, what?
Yeah.
And it's spread around here. I mean, people just started talking about the fact that Stoutland is stepping down. It's crazy.
It is, and I just think I think there is some. I think there's some just shock, surprise.
Well, is it there is something in a good way, or is there something that this is getting worse? This is bad, and it's only getting worse.
So here's, as you play it forward and say, let's say there is I can honestly say from looking at Mailata when I was talking to him, there was surprise, and there was shock. And you've got to wonder how this offensive line as a unit, which is going to be and has been pretty tight as a group of guys, how do they manage it together and how do they come out of it together? Because are they going to look at the next guy who is the offensive line coach and learn, absorb, and follow their lead, or are they going to keep trying to do things that Stoutland taught them and wanted them to do? So it's going to be interesting moving forward how these guys as a line manage this emotionally and then with new leadership at that position.
I listen, I don't want to make any rushes to judgment here. It obviously looks like Stoutland felt disrespected and wanted to go out on his own terms, right?
It certainly looks that way, that there was a parting here. I don't know if there's necessarily bad blood. I just think there was a fork in the road, and Stoutland felt like it was time to take it.
Well, and, maybe he's been here 13 years through 3 regimes. Maybe
well, and,
he
we
just
talk
felt
about
like
we talk about the offensive coordinators that Jalen Hurts has gone through. Look, it's the same thing. He's got different guys calling the play every year. That he's also got to manage that run game and the offensive line to jive with. So, it's, again, another offensive coordinator that he's had to manage.
I wonder if the question is, in his mind, do I want to let this young kid spread his wings and move on? It's time for me to move on.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think maybe it was just the time for a fork in the road, and he took the.
But you know how it is in this town.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to pick a side. We talked about this with Donovan McNabb yesterday. If you're an A.J. Brown guy, it's Jalen Hurts' fault, right?
Yeah, that's true. And I think it depends on your perspective and the narrative that you want to follow until we get a lot more clarity. At some point, it'd be great if Stoutland would talk about it.
Yep.
But you know what? Knowing the times I've talked to him, I don't know that he will. I don't know that he wants to talk about this. I think he's going to move on, and wherever that road leads him is where he'll go, and he's going to be focused on that path and what he's on there and not looking back at this.
It's very interesting. We're going to try to talk about it throughout the day here. Of course, Adam Kaplan, football at 4, and he's going to be joined with us with Greg Cosell from Inside the Tape. So Cosell's going to join us, and who better to break down the Eagles' offense and all that stuff than Greg Cosell. Will be here in the 4 o'clock hour. We're also trying to get Reed Blankenship, Cooper DeJean in that 4 o'clock hour as well. Also on the lineup today, Sean Alexander, the MVP, 2005 MVP. Sean Alexander will be joining us here on the Sports Bash. One of the all-time best running backs, Seattle Seahawk, by the way. You remember his time in Seattle with the Seahawks here at Super Bowl 60. We'll talk to Sean Alexander this hour. Also today, we're talking to Dan Graziano later on in the show. We're scheduled to talk to Dan Graziano, Romeo Dobbs, Keyshawn Johnson, Michelle Smallman, Evan Cohen, all today on the Sports Bash live on 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Live video streaming on the X platform and on YouTube at Mike Gill Show, at 97.3 ESPN on YouTube. But let me tell you guys about our great sponsors who have helped us out here at Radio Row. You guys have checked out the most loved Indian restaurant in South Jersey, the Nizam's. Take the family, take the crew. It's a great lunch buffet, 7 days a week from 11:30 to 9:30. Join them for a special lunch buffet Sundays from 11:30 to 3. Visit thenizams.com for more information. That's one of our great sponsors. Rocco at Key Acura of Atlantic City. Go to keyacuraofatlanticcity.com. Right now you can peruse their inventory, and now through February 28th, they can get you the all-new Acura ADX, starting as low as $300 a month for qualified buyers. The small but friendly dealer right there on Tilton Road, EHT. And then, of course, big games coming Sunday. Ernest & Sons Meat Market, Brigantines, your big game headquarters, wings, meatballs, homemade sausage, subs, Ernest & Sons, old-fashioned meat market. Call and order now, 609-266-1588. Tell them, hey, having a Super Bowl party, make it the best Super Bowl party we ever hosted. Ernest & Sons Old-Fashioned Meat Market, your big game catering headquarters. Live at Radio Row, it is the Sports Bash live on 97.3 ESPN. When we come back, we're going to talk to former NFL Network host Lindsey Rhodes about the NFL, the Super Bowl, the Eagles, and more right here on the Sports Bash.
It's Sixers Lakers tonight on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the Sixers, Tom McGinnis, calling all the exciting play-by-play action.
5 on the clock, back to BJ. He's got to shoot it. 3 on route. Ball game. BJ Edgecombe punctuates the dome. He knocks it in for 3.
It's Sixers basketball tonight. Coverage begins at 10 p.m. It's Sixers basketball all season long on South Jersey's radio home for Philadelphia 76ers basketball. 97.3 ESPN.
My brother, who's older, is a tough guy. He always gets me something, and I have to appreciate it. Hey, man, I got you this. It's a knife. It's a buck knife, like 11-inch Bowie knife. I know you like knives.
For over 135 years, First Bank of Sea Isle City has proudly served Cape May County with a commitment to maintaining a hometown feel. We provide secure, convenient deposit and loan products every day. We're more than just a bank. We're a trusted community partner, offering personalized banking solutions that make life easier for local families of all ages. First Bank of Sea Isle City. Look for our lighthouse in your neighborhood and discover what makes us different.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Oh, hello. and taxes. No security.
You're listening to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
And it just keeps getting better.
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
All right, welcome back. Sports Bash Live at Radio Row. Thanks to our friends at the Nizams, Key Acura of Atlantic City, and, of course, Ernest & Sons Old Fashioned Butcher Shop. Mike Gill, Fox 29 sports anchor Scott Grayson is out here. Now, Scott's been hitting up a lot of the current Eagle players, Jordan Mailata, Reed Blankenship, Cooper DeJean, saw A.J. Brown last night.
Yeah.
But a no comment from an A.J. Brown. Not even a no comment, just no media.
Yeah,
he
doesn't
not
talking to media, which is the way he left the season. So we'll see what that means. And again, you look at all the signs. He put the jerseys that in Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell's locker. It'd be great if we do get Cooper over here. Just talk a little bit about that too. I mean, the signs are there that I think A.J. Brown wants to move on. I was wondering if the new offensive coordinator, and we talked to Romeo Dobbs, which people will hear at some point, that what the receivers can expect out of this offense from Sean Mannion. And I would think it would be enticing to A.J. Brown to stay.
Well, full disclosure, we did talk to Keyshawn Johnson earlier today. We recorded that interview, and it's going to play in a little bit. And we asked him whether he thinks A.J. will be back, and he gave us a pretty
firm answer,
firm prediction, if you will.
Yeah, and it's I don't know, Mike. I don't know how you feel, but I feel like the Eagles are at a very big crossroads right here, and the organization can either get back to a deep playoff run in a Super Bowl, or I can see where they're standing on the edge of a cliff, and this thing could start to get a little ugly before it gets better again.
I'd like to know what the people out there, if you're listening, hit us up on the White Horse RV text board, 609-403-0973. Hit us up on the White Horse RV text board. Do you think this Stoutland thing is the beginning of the cracks and a fire starting here, or is this the beginning of the Eagles transitioning, kind of putting on their big boy pants?
Yeah, it's very interesting to see how that could play out. I mean, it's a big transition with what's going on with this new offense, and if this offense ends up taking off, it could be huge. But if it doesn't, I think it's Nick's last year, and what the Eagles do after that is going to be very interesting.
Yeah, how tied? Like, Nick has now gone through how many different coordinators? The question is, how many more times can he keep doing this? And what does he have to do to kind of, when does he get standing? What accomplishments more does he need to get enough standing that he should say, hey, listen, if I lose a coordinator because he gets hired because he gets a head coaching job, then I'm not going to get doxxed for that.
It is amazing how we talk and how we look at Nick Sirianni, because when you look at his record, I mean, it's amazing. They've made the playoffs every year. He's got 2 Super Bowls in the last 4 years he's been to, and won one of them. I mean, he's done things that no other coaches in this franchise, not even Andy Reid,
forget this franchise, Scott. No other coaches in NFL history have done. He is the third win percentage in the history of the NFL, and it's not one of those things. Well, okay, he's won a lot of games, but he's never won a championship, like the Daryl Morey thing. We were having this discussion at dinner last night. Schwein was saying, well, what has he ever won? Okay, he hasn't won anything. But he's been to the playoffs. I mean, he has teams with a winning record 19 out of 20 years. Sirianni, you can't say, well, what has he ever won? He has the third highest winning percentage in the history of the league. And he's won a Super Bowl.
Right.
And he's been to another one. And he's been to the playoffs all 5 years. So it's like, at what point do you say, you know what? I don't like the guy. I don't know what he does. I don't know what it is. But I got to give him credit. Like, almost like regrettably sometimes. Like, but it's like you either don't give him the benefit of the doubt at all, or it's crazy. I don't hear anybody that ever says, man, this organization has had the success that it's had because of the leadership of Nick Sirianni.
Well, it's where I think with Nick it's very interesting, because the things he does in front of the camera, the things he does on the sidelines, it can be polarizing. It can drive people a little bit crazy. But then I think where Nick's value really is behind the scenes. I think Nick has been really good at having his team, for the most part, ready to play. And I think, he's a good motivator behind the scenes. He talks about things very well. He's a good speaker in meeting rooms. And I think that's where Nick's success really resonates. It's the other stuff, the other stuff on the sidelines, the antics, the yelling, the getting in people's faces, the mugging for the camera that I think can rub people the wrong way.
609-403-0973 on the White Horse RV text board. Some people texting in right now. Nobody wants to deal with the drama anymore. Okay, I would ask this question. Nobody wants to deal with the drama anymore. Is that the people that were here don't want to deal with the drama, and now there's new blood coming in? Here's the problem. Do you give them the benefit of the doubt that they'll bring new blood in and that the new blood will be the next era of Eagles football?
Well, this is why I look at, you look at it forward, and Vic Fangio, of course, we were talking about him looking at possibly retiring, and then he sounds like he's staying. Well, clearly there's going to be a change on the defensive side of the ball in the very near future. So that's where you look at Nick Sirianni could be the last one standing here, or he might be gone with Vic if Vic retires next year.
And that's the thing. I think this is the irony of this here, right? And I know I'm sitting here sounding like I'm defending Nick Sirianni, and I like Nick. I think Nick deserves the praise. I know people don't like Nick. I like Nick for what he does well. He knows he's not the play caller. People want him to be the play caller. I don't need my coach to be the play caller. So I'm not in that camp of, well, what does he do? I value what he does. He is a detail-oriented guy. He is an elite, attention to detail. Jason Kelsey said it. He held people more accountable than anyone I've ever been around in my life. Those things to me matter for my head coach in football. The era of the coach calling the play is evolving now. Like, sometimes the coach doesn't call plays. Sometimes he does. I don't need my coach to call the plays. But we are so tied to the era of they went to a Super Bowl, they won a Super Bowl, they've been to the playoffs 5 times. We don't want to give Nick any of the credit for those things, but maybe he's also the one that's acknowledging we want to move on from that era. Time to. We can't keep sticking in the 5 years. That 5 years happened. We had a great run of success. What's the next 5 years going to bring?
Yeah, he could be the one doing that. I don't know. I just think this is a bust that's driven by Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie. And I think the evidence that we can look at is what happened with Doug Peterson. I think we're in a very similar spot where
Doug didn't want to. Doug did not want to let go. Maybe Nick's not trying to hold on.
But that's just it. I think that's a great way to put it. I don't think Nick is fighting for the power the way that Doug wanted full decisions on the coaching staff. And
he wanted decisions on the coaching staff because he wanted to hold on to the Super Bowl.
Yes.
He wanted to hold on to – and what did Howie say when they won that Super Bowl? Jameis, go Birds. Oh. Jameis Winston, everybody. Doug wanted, and Howie said, we held on, we made decisions because we won that Super Bowl that we probably wouldn't have made because we won the Super Bowl. Like, they gave Alshon that extension. They didn't need to do that. They signed some older guys. They made decisions that they didn't normally make because of that Super Bowl. Now they don't want to make the same decision, the same mistake twice. They don't want to hold on to that Super Bowl and try to recreate it. They're trying to win it a different way now.
Yes, I agree with that entirely. And I think, like you said, I don't think Nick is resisting that.
The Mel's Drive-In, by the way, bag. I love it. We ate breakfast. We ate dinner there the other night.
I don't think Nick is worried about.
All right. By the way, go ahead. Finish your point there. Sorry.
I don't think Nick is worried about fighting them for the power. He's willing to go along for the ride.
I agree. I do agree with that. I think Nick is saying, listen, they held on to that Super Bowl team too long in the past, and it bit them. I'm not going to do that now. Let's evolve to the next era of Eagles football. They got a championship out of the first era of Nick Sirianni. What's the second act? It started last week with Mannion.
Yep.
And
it's continuing.
Really continued with yesterday's decision. Trade deadline, NBA. Also, Lindsey Rhodes is going to join us in the next hour. Brian Baldinger, we're going to try to get him because we want to get his take on the Stoutland decision and what that means for this organization. But when we come back, the MVP, Sean Alexander joins us next on the Sports Bash.
It's Flyers Senators tonight on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Listen as Tim Saunders and Todd Fedor bring you all the exciting play-by-play action.
Kevin with a shot, he scores! Oh, and Tippett goes far down!
Coverage begins at 7 p.m. It's Flyers hockey all season long on South Jersey's radio home for Philadelphia Flyers hockey, 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
This is the story of the one. As an HVAC technician, he and his digital multimeter are in high demand. So when a noisy office HVAC turns out to be a failing blower motor,
The Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
All right, welcome back. Sports Bash live at Radio Row. We are in San Francisco. Here the local time is 11:50. I've been up since 5.
Yeah, I still haven't adjusted to the time, although I wasn't up that early.
Well, it's funny because I'm going to Egypt when I get home. And my girlfriend said to me, don't get used to the time out there because then I would be really messed up adjusting to the time here, then going back and adjusting to the time at home, and then adjusting to, I believe Egypt is about 7 hours ahead of where we are. So I don't know what to do. Last night I was in bed. We got home we went to the
Rich Eisen.
Rich Eisen hosted a new podcast called This Was Sports Center. And it's basically like a retrospective of all the SportsCenter anchors from like the 90s, like Chris Berman was the guest last night. And it was just a Q&A, one question from Eisen and 45-minute answer from Berman.
Yeah, more or less, yeah.
It was good, though. I enjoyed it. There was a lot of nostalgia. But by the time we got home, we were done.
Yeah, it's funny. You guys went up into the room, and I was thinking, okay, are we getting a drink? I was kind of wiped out, too. We walked back from the theater. And it's like 8:30, and I'm like, geez, it feels like 11:39, which is, I guess, right for us. I just other times I've traveled, I've adjusted a lot better than I've not adjusted to this time zone. I
remember when we went to Vegas, I was hurting for days afterwards. I had a rough time
I do remember
adjusting.
that.
Well, that red eye was awful.
Yeah,
and we're doing that again tomorrow. So I don't anticipate this being a fun weekend. But we are live at the Super Bowl, and as always, just a guy.
Buzzing today.
It is buzzing today. It is Grand Central Station around here. We're supposed to talk to Sean Alexander here in a couple of minutes. And we talked to Sean last year at the Super Bowl, obviously MVP. Very intrigued to hear his Seahawks are in this big game. He was with the Seahawks when they won the Super Bowl. And, of course, actually not when they won the Super Bowl, but he was with the Seahawks organization who have won a Super Bowl. But I'm interested to see what he thinks of this particular team. If they have the staying power, that to me is the big story of this Super Bowl. Not forget the game as much. Which of these two teams has the staying power to be a perennial?
I feel like it's probably the Patriots. I just think they've got a lot more young talent there that is developing, and I know we talked about this, touched on it a little bit yesterday. I just think the Patriots are here maybe a little early. At this game, but I think they've got I like their head coach, Mike Vrabel. I do like the things Drake May has been doing. He's got some young pieces around him, along with the veteran Stephon Diggs as a wide receiver. I just don't know that the Patriots defense is ready to play in this game yet, and I just like the Seahawks defense better at this point to be more seasoned and ready to win this game.
So one of the things that we've been talking about, we got a lot of text messages on the White Horse RV text board here. Josh, hit us up with a couple text messages that have been coming in. The White Horse RV text board, 609-403-0973. A lot of reaction to the Stoutland stuff in our first hour here.
So Robbie from
Here
Little
comes Sean Alexander, actually. Actually, Josh, hold up, Josh.
Yep.
Sean is on his way over here. So we'll have to hold off on some of the text messages.
By
the way,
and then Sean Alexander
the Sixers
showed
have
up.
traded Eric. Yeah, and then he just got mobbed by a bunch of people, but here he comes. Eric Gordon has been traded by the Sixers. Minor trade, not a big deal there. Sean Alexander, the MVP. I like that jacket. It's nice.
Yeah, throwback.
Throwback Seahawks.
Starter jacket,
It is a nice one there. What's going on, man?
Man, it's super exciting, man. The Super Bowl is always a great family reunion, so it's always fun to see all the greats, but when it's your team in it,
right?
Oh, it feels good,
right? I was going to say last year we were in New Orleans,
yep.
And the Eagles were there, which is where we are. We are the Philadelphia Eagles affiliate. It feels a little different. How's it feel as an alum, and a primetime alum of the Seattle Seahawks?
Yeah, it's really there's just a couple of things that just feel really, really good. One, I got to Seattle in year 25. This is the 50th anniversary.
Wow.
And so it was really cool just kind of looking over the past, because when I got there, of course you got greats like Steve Largent, and Ken Easley and Cortez Kennedy, so they're greats. But They just didn't win. You know what I mean? And then you go through what we got to do in the early 2000s. You know, I was Mike Holmgren's first offensive first-round pick, and you know, we're bringing in different guys and watching us get to the Super Bowl. We played in Super Bowl 40, so here it is 20 years later, and this is going to be our 4th Super Bowl. So it's just like a great honor. I feel like a great pride that says, man, like, we actually turned this program that from the first 25 years was not, and now you're looking at this is going to be our 4th Super Bowl in 20 years, and so it's beautiful. It's a lot of fun.
We were just talking about this because the Eagles, like the Seahawks for a while, were known for never winning a Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. They finally got that one in 2017.
Yep.
And then they got another one, and now the conversation, you know, they fired people. Jeff Stoutland just left the offensive line coach, and it's like, now they're spoiled.
Yeah.
The Eagles fans have become spoiled brats almost, which
right.
is fun for what we do. But we were wondering, like, do you look at this Seahawks, the way it just kind of came out of nowhere, do they have the staying power?
Yeah, I think it comes out of nowhere because we're up in the Northwest. You know what I mean? Like, people are like, yeah, you're you know, my Super Bowl team in 05, it came out of nowhere. We were like 13-2, right? We were beating people to death. You know, I remember that year I didn't play in 7 fourth quarters that year. So, like, you know, I came out 2 games at halftime. You know, so there were 9 quarters I did not play.
Jeez. I remember we had this conversation about how many yards you ended up with, and how many more yards you could have had.
Right. And so, but yeah, so we already know that to be crazy, but the reality is like, to beat teams that bad that your tailback doesn't play in the 4th quarter lets you know it wasn't out of nowhere. We knew we were that good, and now you're watching, you know, now you're watching this team now, and it's like, I went to the Commanders game. They played Commanders in D.C., and come down there after the locker room, and I got my sons with me, and they're excited. They're taking pictures with Jackson and Sam, and they're like, oh yeah, Dad, like, you know, they're so and they're having a great time. And I see Eric Kennedy, who's the equipment manager, who was there when I was there, and we're cracking jokes. He goes, I've seen this 3 times. I said, what you mean? He goes, I just feel it. Y'all's 05 team, that Legion of Boom, and Russell Wilson, when they first got there, he goes, I'm telling you, we're here again.
Wow.
And I said, okay, I'm going to watch. And literally November, December, January, I was like, this dude he's right. Like, this team is a squad. And they've just been beating people. They play so good together. They love playing for each other. It's a lot of fun to watch.
It's amazing how, you know, it's been coming up the last time the Seahawks were there. They did play the Patriots, and that was a memorable game for all the reasons you don't want to talk about, I'm sure. But that ball on the 1-yard line, I mean, as a running back, are you still, like, thinking, man, I'd love to go in there and do that again?
Yeah, it was wild. I always kept on saying to myself, like, what would I have done in that situation? I'm probably the only person that could
would
really
you have
be
said
like,
something to Pete? Like,
yeah, like, what? You know, I know Mike. Mike, he respectfully, he liked to be challenged. You know what I mean?
Really?
I can't just be like, you know, that's a dumb play. But I would have probably looked over the sideline and be like, really? You know what I mean? He gave one of those. He'd be like, calm down, I got a plan, I got an idea, you know. But Pete took ownership of that, man. We go in the locker room. So I came from the stadium and came on down into the locker room. And I had to come and grab old Marshawn and hug him and be like, dude, you're too valuable. Don't let this mess you up. And Pete comes in there and he just, baby, everybody circle up. I blew it. My call. I had to take ownership of this. And I'm telling you, if they win that game, they might have won 3 in a row.
Really?
They might, because they were so good.
Yeah.
But it hurt them. It hurt them mentally.
What is so good about this year's team that hasn't caught on to the lower 50? The low, like you said, they're way out there.
Yeah,
we don't get to hear much. So what has everybody missed?
I believe that they call the defense the dark side. You know what I mean? They say, welcome to the dark side. And it's that defensive line is so good. You know, I'm very close with Drake May. He was one of the freshman player of the years. So I know him since he was 19. Watching him just grow, it's been really good. But I was like, okay, what is it? What does Drake need to go take over? It's being able to step up in the pocket and be able to run, be able to step up. The D-line for Seattle, that's what they do. They disrupt all of that. You got about 8 guys that all have 3 to 6 sacks. There is no one guy any one of them could get hot, and that creates a problem. So their D-line needs to go play well, and that's just kind of what they do. Kenneth Walker, with Charbonnet being hurt, I feel like it could be a very big bonus for Seattle. Not for the whole season, but he has just one moment to just be the guy, and you give a guy like that 25 carries, it could turn into like 100-something yard, 2 touchdown game. That's the situation I usually caught myself in, and they don't even do it like that nowadays, but we have to, and I think it's going to benefit Seattle. So they got to run the ball well, no turnovers, and let that D-line just go off.
I wanted to ask you, I know last year, or I think we talked to you last year, talked about Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
What did you see with Saquon? Everybody was like, oh, he's lost a step. I mean, it didn't necessarily look like he lost a step so much. He was getting hit so much earlier than he did last year. What do you see out of Saquon, and should we expect to see Saquon get back to being who he is more frequently?
Well, the truth be told is the NFL is the greatest sport in all of football because it takes 11 guys to play as one. You take 10 guys to give the one guy with the ball an opportunity. And so if a team is like, hey, we don't care, we're not going to let Saquon run the ball, even if it causes us a loss somewhere on the field, then you're not going to run the ball. And so I feel like the situation is people started the games first quarter with, if they start off the games throwing bombs, the Eagles are going to win. You know what I mean? Because they're like, we're not going to let Saquon get hot at all.
That's what the Rams players told us yesterday. Yeah. They basically said they were. You got so many different guys on that team to zone in on. Yeah. We were told we're zoning in on Saquon.
One guy.
Yeah.
And so you got to decide, well, hey, I'm going to be intentional, but I'm definitely not going to let us hit our head against this wall over and over and over and over and over again, just for the sake of saying we're going to run the ball.
Well, I know you got a lot of these to do. We always appreciate seeing Sean Alexander, the MVP, is with us here. You're with Stand Together. Tell us a lot about that because that is a awesome organization.
Love Stand Together. You know, I've been their ambassador for about 6-7 years now. Well, it's going on 7 now, and I get the. First of all, Stand Together Foundation is about 900 some of the most successful businessmen, women, and philanthropic leaders in the country. They put their time and talents and treasures together to go tackle some of the country's biggest issues. How can we help education for the youth? How can we help communities? How can we help community centers and clubs and families and youth that are in need? They go tackling all those issues in all the unique ways. And so I get to be the ambassador, and my job is to help build the perfect tripod. There's people that do great work. There's people that come and fund and help give wisdom to the great work. And then there's people that can bring attention to it. And right now with the NFL, we're building the philanthropic locker room. And the whole idea is to go and allow the guys to still be stars, current players and legends, but really help move them into how do I go help this cause without me being the one that has to, as I say, scoop the mashed potatoes. Well, man, Johnny can scoop the mashed potatoes. What I need you to do is be a star. Talk about it, bring attention to it, take some pictures with it, get back to being a star. You know what I mean? So we're trying to take their time and say, hey, here's the most valuable way to use your time. Be a star and help promote this thing instead of you putting your money in. I'm going to go out and buy the 16 turkeys to give away for families. No. Why don't we go do a deal with Tyson's Turkey and go give away 1 million turkeys? And now we're going to get everybody. So it's creating that kind of way of thinking when it comes to community work. Stand Together has been phenomenal partnership. It's an honor to be an ambassador with them and watch the great things that we get to do.
StandTogether.org is where you can find out more about what Sean Alexander just told you all about. And he was kind enough to join us here, the MVP of the Seattle Seahawks, who are in Super Bowl 60. And if you're watching on the stream and if you got pictures, he's got a great Seahawks jacket on. That thing is definitely big time. Sean, great to see you,
Excellent,
man.
brothers.
Appreciate
all right.
it.
No doubt.
We'll take a quick timeout on Radio Row. We got more next hour. The NBA trade deadline just happened as well. More Sports Bash coming up on 97.3 ESPN.
Get ready for the biggest week in radio. The Sports Bash is live on Radio Row at Super Bowl 60 in San Francisco. All the big-name guests, all the big game coverage on 97.3 ESPN. Brought to you by
Ernest & Son Meat Market for your big game delivery or pickup. Order early and call now. 609-266-1588.
And Key Acura. If your car has been taking a beating this winter, then maybe it's time for a new one. And if you are thinking about getting a new one, then go see my friend Rocco over at Key Acura of Atlantic City. Key Acura, Tilton Road, Egg Harbor Township. Online at keyacurofatlanticcity.com.
It's the Sports Bash with Mike Gill, live from Radio Row at Super Bowl 60 in San Francisco. Listen to Super Bowl 60 exclusively on 97.3 ESPN.
For the big game, you gotta make the trip to the Pick. Order and get 75 wings for $60. The Piccalilli Inn, Route 206, Chemung, New Jersey. Order at Piccalilli.com.
All right, welcome back. Sports Bash Live, 3 o'clock hour here at Radio Row, San Francisco. I haven't really seen anything in this town, by the way. Nothing. I have seen nothing.
Yeah, we had the opportunity on our drive-in the day before you got here to see the Golden Gate Bridge. And
went to the Sixer game the other night, so I went to the arena.
That's true, you did.
Chase Center. That was a very nice arena, but I haven't seen. I saw on the drive home, this traffic was so bad on the way home from the game. I did see the scoreboard for Oracle, but it was like dark out, so I couldn't see the stadium. But I saw the Oracle sign lit up.
Yeah, if you go up to the third floor here where they have the media hospitality, if you want to call it that, if you look out the window, you can see the top of Oracle Park.
That's basically what I saw. I saw the lights on the scoreboard. It just says Oracle Park. I did not see the Golden Gate Bridge yet. I have not seen Alcatraz. Anything else I need to see while I'm here?
Oh, well, I know from being here in the past, there's some really good food down at Fisherman's Wharf.
I was going to just say, if anybody out there is listening who's been to San Francisco, can you text in a place that we have to eat while we're here? Not like a crazy expensive steakhouse, but just like something this place is kind of known for. Because I have no idea. I keep looking at my phone. I'm like, best places around me, blah, blah, blah. And they keep giving me, like, the best, like, high-end. I'm talking about, like, a little pub or a little tavern. If you've been to San Francisco, and we are staying, we're, like, on 4th Street.
Right,
4th and Market. We're at 4th and Market in San Francisco. So anybody out there who knows the area to tell us where we should, like, go afterwards. Again, not like a high-end steakhouse or anything like that. Just, like, something kind of cool, kind of quick, that we can get dinner like after the show's over. That's what I'm looking for. 609-403-0973 on the White Horse RV text board. She's coming over here. Somebody's going to be using it. 609-403-0973 on the White Horse RV text board. Let us know. Josh, we got some text messages you were getting to. Oh, here comes.
Once again.
And by the way, anything else happened in the trade deadline? Eric Gordon got traded for a second-round pick. That's basically
the
what we have
deadline
going
was 8
on
minutes ago. So
yeah, and I don't think anything else happened of substance for the Eagles. All right, Lindsay Rhodes is with us.
Hi.
Our first question would be, what the heck were you doing?
Talking to Doug Flutie. Sorry.
Doug Flutie. Now that's a great that's a great story, because last year in New Orleans, we had our weekend show was here, and he was trying to get interviews and stuff, and he proclaimed that Doug Flutie big-timed him.
Oh.
And then later on, so he was really steaming hot about Doug Flutie.
Oh, man.
Screw that Doug Flutie. Who was he to big-time me? Blah, 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 blah.
Then
later on,
polarizing figure.
It switched where he tried again, and Doug Flutie said, yeah, sure, no problem. Now he loves Doug
he's so
Flutie.
nice.
So is Doug
Had
Flutie.
the best conversation.
Is Doug Flutie The nice guy or the jerk? Which one?
I mean, he seemed pretty nice to me. I don't know. We were talking to him about evaluating quarterbacks. It was so, like how we get it wrong and what the most important things are and how you measure those things. And so I was just nerding out on him.
Well, you led us right down to, we were conversating. We said when Lindsay comes over, we'd like to talk about that very thing because we just had Sean Alexander here, and we were asking if the Seahawks have the staying power.
That's a good way to look at it. That's interesting.
Both teams. So which of these two teams has the staying power because of the core? Now, interestingly enough, Mike Mayock told us the other day, it's not the quarterback and the coach, it's the GM and the coach have to be simpatico.
I'm not laughing for any reason specific. Yes, 100%. Well, I mean, I think all of them have to be simpatico, but if you were to say, which of these two teams do I think is probably most likely to be here frequently, I would go with the quarterback. I would go with the one that is settled. Well, I guess that's fair, too. I think
you said the quarterback, but you didn't indicate which one.
I think Drake May has the ability and showed that this year that he has the ability to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league and to be potentially, we don't know this yet for sure, but to be a guy who raises the tide for everybody on the team. And I think that what we learned about Sam Darnold over the course of his career, in the early going, I really, really fought. I got in a lot of fights. Luckily, they were public, so now I can go back and pat myself on the back and shove it in their face and say I was right about Sam Darnold and you were wrong. But I think the thing that we learned about Sam Darnold in the early going when people were labeling him as a bust was just that he maybe isn't that caliber quarterback. But I thought we never learned in any of those stops in New York or in Carolina, we never learned if he was good enough to win with. And I think that there's a difference between those two quarterbacks. I think you can, as we see this year with freaking Sam Darnold, we have learned that you can make it to the Super Bowl with a quarterback who is good enough as long as the environment is good and will support that.
It's good because, did Darnold... Last year he wins 14 games, and everyone's like, who cares?
Yeah.
He got no credit for being a part of that because of one game.
One game.
That's right.
And what's so interesting about that to me is, and I've heard this a lot this week, and I think probably a lot of people on the outside are framing it this way too. If Sam Darnold sees ghosts again in the Super Bowl, I think that people talk about him as if they're waiting for the carriage to turn into a pumpkin and the clock to strike midnight. And I think that that's unfortunate and also unfair because one thing happened. Quarterbacks have games. We saw Josh Allen throw a bunch of interceptions in the postseason this year. Drake May has thrown interceptions the entire run to the Super Bowl, right? That's what good defense is. That's their entire job, is to try and bait you into making a mistake. And sometimes, if you're a good defense, that will be successful. It doesn't mean that Sam Darnold is no longer good, just like it doesn't mean that Josh Allen is not a good quarterback because he melted a little bit in that regard in the postseason. And so I think that people are really, really eager to place a performance like that, if it were to happen, on him, going back to who he was before, as if all of the rest of this development has been a mirage. And I just don't think that that's fair.
What do you say to the people who, and I'm kind of one of them, who feels that maybe the Patriots got here a year early?
Yeah, I think so for sure.
I mean, they had the easiest schedule. They didn't have to deal with Mahomes. They didn't have to deal with Josh Allen. They didn't have to deal with Bo Nix.
What happened in the AFC this year? I mean, it was a weird year for the AFC. There's no way around that. It was a bizarre path. And I think that they did get very, very fortunate, which doesn't mean that they're not an incredible team. I just think that this happened quickly, right? To go from 4 wins, I remember at the beginning of the year looking at their win total in Vegas and thinking, are they going to double their win total? I mean, I think they're going to be way better. And they had all these resources in the offseason, but double? And now I'm like, what a dumb thing. They're in the Super Bowl. But I would have never thought that. But I do think that, Drake May is a perfect example. He was who I voted for the All-Pro first team over Stafford. I think they both had incredible games or seasons, but I think he had an insane season. The one thing that I think is still sort of a deficiency in his game, an area that he needs to improve in, is sack avoidance, and that's an important area to need to improve in. Like, his pressure to sack rate is high. He takes a lot of sacks. He's not yet at a point. There have been 2 games in the postseason so far where he has not had a single pressure to escape attempt. 2 whole games where he didn't flush out of the pocket, keep the eyes up, looking downfield, and still attempt to throw. And I know that that's not necessarily what his game is, but he scrambles enough and he's mobile enough. My guess is that as his career develops, that we will start seeing that more. And so that, I think, will be a big key in the Super Bowl, because the Seahawks, much like the Texans and the Broncos, I mean, a murderer's row of defenses that these guys have faced, but they can get pressure without blitzing. And
what did Sean Alexander say they call themselves defensively, Seattle, this year? But because we were asking him,
I forget what he called it.
Why do people we're acting like they snuck up on us? And he's saying no, it's just because of where we are.
Silent assassins or something.
And he was basically saying that because that defense, he was at a game and he said at one point, yeah, we're as good as your 05 team and the team that won the Super Bowl in 15 or whatever. He said they knew that this defense was on that level.
I think the question going into the year was more about the offense. Like, we knew the defense was going to be good.
Not this good.
Maybe not this good, although I'm going to give some of my colleagues.
They stuffed the Niners in a locker.
My colleague Sean Syed before the season said he thought they could be the best defense in the league.
Wow.
So there were signs that that this was something that was definitely a potential thing that could have happened for this defense. The question, I think, was about the offense. And I think, again, that's a framing conversation where when they started making moves in the offseason to allow DK Metcalf to go elsewhere and to allow Geno Smith to go elsewhere, people talked about the Seahawks' offensive losses as if they were losses. And I thought at the time it might not turn out to work out, but they did these things on purpose. And we can't lose sight of that. Because when you are making these choices on purpose to go in a different direction, there's got to be a reason for that. And so who knows if it will work out? It has. But, they clearly had a vision of what they wanted to do on offense, thought that those pieces didn't fit as well as the pieces that they wanted to pivot to, and here we are.
All right, so we're at the Super Bowl. Last year, we were in New Orleans and talking about the Eagles, we are the affiliate of the Eagles.
Okay.
Have you ever seen a team where the offensive line coach leaving would be one of the biggest stories in the town? It's the biggest sports story in the town.
I know.
But have you seen any other NFL team in your time? You were at NFL Network.
That's a good question.
Where when an offensive line coach left, that there was such an uproar, do people now think that the organization is imploding on itself? Is that not a fair way to describe it? We talked to Jordan Mailata. He asked Jordan Mailata today, and his face was green when asking about, hey,
you talked to him today?
10 minutes ago.
Yeah, a little while ago, yeah.
Was he
very sad? I would say he was very surprised and stunned still, even though it came out yesterday.
Oh, my gosh.
And nobody's been a bigger Stoutland guy than...
Yes. I mean, you see when he does his introduction, Stoutland you. I mean, look at the size of this man.
That's it. He's
massive.
He's ginormous.
And he said, hey, can I ask you a question about Stoutland? He says, I don't want to comment on it right now.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, that's... To your question about it, I cannot think of another example of that, but there are a few coaches that are position coaches that, I mean, if you're a casual fan or living outside the city, you might not know Jeff Stoutland. If you are in the football space and this is what you do, everybody knows Jeff Stoutland, and everybody knows that this is a legend and that...
What other offensive line coach do we know, though? That's you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, there are a few.
Sure.
There are a few, but not many.
Is it because we're so wrapped up in that? Or would another offensive line coach somewhere else leave and people would be like, the head coach needs to go. It's all his fault. The place is burning down. He started
Not to that degree. Not to that degree. That's for sure.
That's what's happening.
Oh, my gosh. That's dramatic. But here's the thing. That tells me that there are a lot of ball knowers in your area because it all starts with the offensive line. And if you don't have a good offensive line, and you mentioned Mailata, if you don't have good tackles, you don't have anything. I mean, the Chargers are a perfect example of that this year. From a build standpoint, I feel so bad for Joe Ortiz, their general manager, because what are you supposed to do? Not that he drafted those guys, but You've got 2 tackles. This
Yeah.
is not a problem for you, right? How many resources do you want allocated to offensive tackle when you have literally 2? We did some research for a draft show that we have coming out called The Evaluation, and I looked into offensive line stats, and we found in our data that there are on average every year about 15 offensive tackles in the NFL that are really good. There are 64 offensive tackles that start, right? So there's not that many. So now you take 2 of them if you're the Chargers and you throw them away. And then what are you going to on the bench? Next man up. Okay, that next man up is a backup caliber tackle. Or you're moving your guard, who might be good, to tackle. And now you're downgrading both of the spots. It is a lose-lose situation. If you've got a good offensive coach and you've got talent there, everything else should run smoothly.
And we know the Eagles' record when Lane Johnson doesn't play.
Well, and that's where I was going to go.
Not
next.
good.
Now we don't know if Lane Johnson will decide to retire with Stoutland retiring.
That
or
is a fascinating trickle down.
Right. Because
I wouldn't be surprised.
Right. And I kind of wanted to go back when you talked about the Seahawks and making the decision to go in a different direction.
Sorry, I take it back.
The Seahawks going in a different direction with letting DK Metcalf go. What about the Eagles and A.J. Brown? Is that a model they could look at and say, listen, it may hurt to think he's going, but look what the Seahawks did, and it could be for the better?
Well, maybe you guys can teach me something here, because the stuff that we see in terms of metrics and the stuff that we can track and chart, and A.J. Brown's one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, and we did not see that with DK Metcalf. Right? Like, you see DK Metcalf, who's, like, really, really strong at the catch point, but, like, not as strong in the route running and then not as strong in the yards after catch. And so you can see ways where things have to be a specific way and that maybe it's not as well-rounded. A.J. Brown is a stud. Like, he does all the things well. So it feels a little bit like the issue there is just not being on the same page in some way, and I have really struggled to put my finger on what the heck is going on there.
Join the club.
Yeah, right? I was to say, you and everybody else.
Because it just doesn't make sense. Is it personality clash? It feels like it has to be, because he is so talented, and he can do so many things. Like, how do you mess that up?
We tried to ask Donovan McNabb about how a relationship could implode.
Oh, boy.
And he didn't
Did
really.
he hit you?
He didn't really want to talk about it too much. But he did insinuate that the fans generally will take sides with the guy that they deem to be more important.
Yeah.
And it seems
so
that
true.
they deem Brown to be more important than Hurts. Is that fair?
I think he probably is more talented than Hurts at his position. Hurts is definitely, I don't know if Hurts is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, but I think he's good enough to win with, as we saw last year. And so good luck pivoting off of that.
Right.
Right?
It's the old.
You could probably find a new wide receiver one sooner than you can find a new quarterback that can play at that level.
True.
It's the old, we were talking about this the other day, yesterday or whatever, I don't know what that is anymore, but the argument of you can't win a Super Bowl with Jalen Hurts, but I already watched it.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
But you can't do it. The goalposts then go, well, you can't do it again.
Okay.
Like, he can't be a 2-time Super Bowl winner. Like, oh, how dare he, right?
Well, okay. I mean, this is where I get lost in the coach quarterback conversation too, because then, like we saw with McDaniels, which is a weird in Miami. Weird example right now, because it obviously sort of fell apart this season in Miami. But like what he did, if you just look at it from an offensive scheme standpoint, in terms of saying what are Tua's deficiencies, his arm strength. Like, the entire offense is built around not putting him in a position to showcase that weakness, right? It's quick, get the ball out fast. He has one of the lowest time to throws in the NFL every year. He has one of the lowest average depth of targets in the NFL every year. They just put pieces around him that had the athletic talent where they could create get me the ball fast. I will create separation.
Yeah.
I will create speed.
Something
I will
the
break
Eagles
away.
didn't do this year.
And that's what I'm getting at is, so if there are deficiencies in Jalen's game, you got to figure out a way to scheme around that.
Okay, so first off, tell everybody you're at NFL Network. Lindsay Rhodes is with us, and now Sumer Sports, and you guys do a lot of analytical deep dives and really
all the nerdy stuff.
Yes. You just talked about Mike McDaniel, and the Eagles just hired Sean Mannion, who worked with LaFleur, and he played for McVay, and he played for Kevin O'Connell, and then they bring in Josh Grizzard, and he coached with Liam Cohen and Mike McDaniel, and everyone's
they've been touched.
Right. Everyone's like, look at all these great offensive minds that are now. Yeah. Can Jalen Hurts run those offenses? Has been the big question in Philly are they not running more creative offenses because the coordinator isn't very creative, or is it because the quarterback doesn't have the ability to run Mike McDaniels, Josh Grizzard's, LaFleur's, McVay's offenses? What's the chicken or the egg here, right?
What is a McVay offense in terms of the through line? Because I think you see coaches from that tree go out and do things that are different. Like what McDaniel did in Miami is not what all of the rest of the guys on the tree do. And I do think the one thing that I think is interesting about that tree concept is that the Rams, their whole organization runs a little bit different than everybody else in the sense that they are constantly asking themselves, is what we've always done what we should continue to do? Or is there a better, more efficient way to do this? Like when they stopped going to the combine and they said, we're just going to reallocate some resources here and see if we can do that. I think they're very forward thinking in a lot of those sorts of ways. And I think it creates an environment for them to think outside the box. And so there's a lot of like intangible stuff that I think is learned in that tree that you can take elsewhere, and it should be, I think, the primary sign of a good coach is that you are adaptable and that you put your team and your players, you say, what are you good at? Do that. That's my job as the coach.
It'll be very interesting, OTAs, to see what this Eagles offense, this new Eagles offense will look like. Lindsay Rhodes, always a pleasure to catch up and geek out with you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Lindsay.
She was kind enough to join us right here on Radio Row on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3. We'll blame Doug Flutie for her tardiness.
I almost said a bad word, and this is radio. Darn you, Doug. There you go.
But it all worked out, and we enjoyed the conversation. Supersports.com is where you can find her. And we had Mike Mayock on the other day. He's going to be a part of that draft show as well.
Best.
Yes.
Yeah, and the draft show comes out the Thursday after the Super Bowl. So once you're like already sad because there's no football coming, tune into the evaluation. We're here for draft season. Kick it off.
Looking forward to it. Lindsay Rhodes, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good to see you, as always. That was awesome. A great breakdown, just kind of geeking out, talking about what the Eagles'
even a great
situations are.
comparison between DK Metcalf and A.J. Brown. I thought that was, metrically speaking, very fascinating.
All right, when we come back, Sheil Kapadia from The Ringer is set to join us here to talk a little bit about the Eagles, the NFL, the offseason, free agency, all of it. With Sheil Kapadia, who used to cover the Eagles, by the way, for Philly Voice for years. And he went national, Ringer. He's on Radio Row. We're going to bring him over here. And still to come, Keyshawn Johnson, Romeo Dobbs is going to be joining us. Michelle Smallman's on the way this hour as well. More Sports Bash coming up on 97.3 ESPN.
It's Flyers Senators tonight on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Listen as Tim Saunders and Todd Fedorn bring you all the exciting play-by-play action.
Kevin with a shot. He scores! Owen Tippett goes far down.
Coverage begins at 7 p.m. It's Flyers hockey all season long on South Jersey's radio home for Philadelphia Flyers hockey. 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
My brother, who's older, is a tough guy. He always gets me something, and I have to appreciate it. Hey, man, I got you this. It's a knife. It's a buck knife, like 11-inch Bowie knife. I know you like knives. I go, I do? He goes, well, at dinner, you're always like, can I have a knife?
David Spade, I Got a Feel For It tour. Saturday, March 7th, Ovation Hall and Ocean Casino Resort. Tickets are on sale now at theoceanac.com.
Row here, the Sports Bash Live. By the way, the draft show that Mike Mayak was talking about is called The Evaluation, that Lindsey Rhodes was just telling us there. So if you want to check out that draft stuff, it's called The Evaluation. That's what she was talking about there. All right. Sheil Kapadia is here, the Ringer, the NFL show on the Ringer podcast, also the Philly Special show. Used to cover the Eagles for Philly Voice, correct?
It was a number of different outlets. Yeah, Philly Mag.
Philly Mag
was the main one.
That's right.
Philly Mag. Yep.
And he covered the Eagles for a long, long time here. Then you came out to Seattle, right?
Correct. Was in Seattle for 2 years. I got there the year after they lost that Super Bowl, the Malcolm Butler play. So the last time they were in it. Seeing some old friends here at Radio Row.
Yeah, and he is the host of the Ringer's NFL show, the Philly Special show as well. 2 podcasts you can catch Sheil on. The Super Bowl's out here, but Sheil, you know Philly. It's crazy. I mean, Jeff Stoutland leaves, and it's like all anybody cares about. This game is like a nothing burger. That you just want to know, why is Jeff Stoutland not a part of the Eagles organization? Do you find it to be as big of a story as it is the Eagle fans are making this out to be? Because it's like, what happened? Whose fault is this? Is the place burning down?
Yeah. Listen, this is why we love it. This is why we have jobs. This is good. The only market, the only O-line, where the O-line coach leaves, and I'm like, I got to do an emergency podcast. This is great. And then I'm like, this is O-line coach. I don't know if this happens in other markets. I do think it's a big story, though. I mean, he was there for so long. He was there at the start of the Chip Kelly era. He was there. I was thinking, when I first got to write about football full time, that was the start of the Jeff Stoutland era. I haven't kind of worked in this business in this capacity. And I think it just signals a big overhaul and a big, we knew it was going to be an offseason of change, but now it's like, this is going to be a big, big offseason of change for the Eagles, and all of a sudden the pressure's going to be on once again next year.
So this is the two sides of my head working here. Is it
Okay.
a good thing? Because Nick's it's Nick's fault. He blah, blah, they didn't tell him. There was he feels disrespected.
Yeah.
Is this Nick finally putting his big boy pants on and saying we need to evolve this thing and we have to do it somehow? Or did he disrespect him and that Jeff said, I'm out, you go figure this out by yourself with your boy Wonders over here?
Yeah, all the reporting is that, the Eagles wanted Jeff Stoutland back. And I'm like, okay, that's nice spin, but under what circumstances? In what role, would he be in? Because that's the X factor here. All the reporting is that they stripped some run game responsibilities away from Jeff Stoutland last year. Nick Sirianni played a bigger role, and that Jeff Stoutland was not going to get those responsibilities back. So he's sitting here going, I've been here for different coaches, different schemes, and the offensive line has been the constant. And now you think I'm like part of the problem? I'm the reason why the offense stunk last year? I don't think so. He's a prideful guy. So I think that was probably a very big part of it. And then I think if you want to look at it more rationally, that was the emotional take. If you want to look at it more rationally, you say they're just overhauling the offensive scheme. They're going to be under center more. They're going to run play action more. It's going to be a scheme that maybe Jeff Stoutland doesn't major in. And so, of course, it makes sense. You hired a new OC that you're going to hire people that major in that scheme. I think that's possible. Yeah. It's also a very big risk. I mean, I don't think they're a better coaching staff today than they were 24 hours ago. So I understand that side of it as well.
Are we at the same kind of similar crossroads that we were after Doug Peterson, where Doug ended up leaving, right? Are we seeing where Doug said, I want the decisions with my staff, and they said, okay, beat it? And Nick's, are we at the place where Nick is saying, okay, I'll play the game. I'll follow along with what you want. Is that where we are here?
I think it's close to that, yeah. I think Nick either is smart enough or has looked at history to know that if I put my foot down, that might not be a good outcome for me. So, yeah, he looks at it and says, all right, we all know. I mean, we don't have to. Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie make the decisions with the organization, and you can poo-poo that, but they've also been unbelievable. It's been the best 10-year stretch in French since I've been alive. So I'm not saying necessarily that's a negative, but it is different from other organizations where the GM and the owner, they're going to be behind all types of decisions with the coaching staff. So that is part of my big question, even with the Stoutland thing, is that did Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie, who I know Jeffrey Lurie has been a big, big Jeff Stoutland fan for a long time, did they come to the conclusion that we don't want to do this, we love him as a coach, but if we actually are going to overhaul this offense, we understand moving on from him? Or to your point, was it more combative where, man, they're saying, we wanted to keep him, Nick, why'd you disrespect the guy? And now he's out the building, and now we got to find someone else.
Right, and then the question off that is this a sign that they are ready to finally let someone else kind of change this offense for real? Not, hey, Nick, it's Nick's offense, but here's the plays, and Sheil, you call them.
No.
So is this a sign that maybe Sean Mannion will get to install what he wants to really do? Because, I don't know, do we think that Kellen Moore got that opportunity fully?
No, I think this will be the most of the Nick Sirianni era that, that he has the smallest influence he's ever had on the offense. I think they're handing the keys to Sean Mannion and saying, we trust. Now, he's never done it before. He's been in the NFL for 2 years, but they identified him, and maybe they hit on an under-the-radar coach who's really good at this and can come in and overhaul the offense. But it does feel high risk, high reward. I mean, their floor for
100%.
next year feels a lot lower than it has in recent years, where this thing could go haywire and this offense could even be worse than it was this past season, especially, by the way, when you look at the personnel. Is A.J. Brown going to be back? Is Lane Johnson going to be back? Is Dallas Goedert going to be back? Those have been some very key players.
And how much does the Stoutland thing play into Lane Johnson's?
It's a great question. Yeah, only he knows that, I guess. But that's
your
the next
guess?
shoe to drop. Man, I'm like 50-50.
Yeah,
I feel like Lane Johnson is a prideful guy who would want to go out on his own terms. I think he would probably, and when he's playing, he's still a great player, so it really is just the injuries thing. But on the other hand, do you just want to meet some guy for the first time and say, man, last year was a train wreck, and now here are some strangers, and now I'm going to go play for this guy where I don't feel great about it? Maybe not. Maybe you say, I'm moving on. It's been a great career.
It's really fascinating being out here and getting to talk to people who are not in our own little part of the world and totally consumed with the Eagles, particularly about A.J. Brown. I mean, he's got the dead cap hit, we know, if they trade him. But you look at him, and I saw him yesterday and tried to talk to him, and, of course, he's still doing his no media thing. What do you get in the sense about what's going on here? I mean, have the changes that the Eagles made with the offense – we talked to Romeo Dobbs. He talked about how this is going to be great for the receivers. They should expect the ball. I talked to Jordan Love. He said they're going to love this offense. Should A.J. Brown and the Eagles be working to have that marriage still exist?
It feels to me like A.J. Brown's probably not going to be on the Eagles. That's not like reportering or insider stuff. It's just kind of reading. I mean, this went on all of last season, and it's hard for me to believe that he's going to go, oh, I wanted to go, but, man, they got Sean Mannion. All due respect. Sean Mannion could be really good, but it's not, they didn't bring Bill Walsh in here. I got to play in that offense. So I don't think A.J. Brown's going to look at that, and we also don't know. Who was A.J. Brown's issue with? Was it the coaching? Was it the quarterback? Was it a combination? Was it something else? And so if you look at all those things, I would imagine that during the trade deadline last year, they probably had a conversation, and maybe Howie said, AJ, give us what you got this year. We'll talk again after the season. We'll do right by you. But come on, we're not trading you right now. We're trying to go back-to-back as Super Bowl champs. And the season went the way it did. And they're going to be teams who want A.J. Brown. One of them playing in the Super Bowl. Do the Patriots call the Eagles after the Super Bowl and say, hey, Mike Vrabel says, yes, I will take A.J. Brown to pair with Drake May. The Bills, with the GM feeling pressure, are they a team that says we want A.J. Brown? So I would guess that A.J. Brown is traded this offseason.
Oh, boy.
What kind of a haul would be something fans should expect in like that?
I would say top 50 pick.
Okay.
I think best case, I think Howie Roseman will ask for a first. Will he get a first? I don't know. I think teams will offer a second. And then maybe, one thing that Howie Roseman does like to do that is smart is he says, all right, what if we look a year ahead? So it's not now. Fans won't be happy about that because you're not seeing you don't get the draft pick this year. But what if you say 2027 pick? It's a second, but if A.J. Brown has 1,100 yards, that turns into a 2027 first. And now all of a sudden, 2027, you have 2 first-round picks that's supposed to be, and I know draft people always say this, and it's not true, that's supposed to be a better draft than this year's draft. But something like that, I think immediately it would be great. A great haul for the Eagles if they get a first this year. I think you will get a second. If you look ahead, I think you have a better chance at getting a first.
Interesting, yeah.
He's Sheil Kapadia, and you can check out the Ringer NFL show, the Philly Special podcast. The Eagles did move to get a new run game coordinator immediately. They got one. Ryan Mahaffey is in here from Green Bay.
You pronounce it, not me.
The fact that they already made that announcement, this seemingly was something that has been in the works, and it's like, hey, you're out and you're in.
Yeah.
Are you surprised that it was this? I don't say quiet. I guess there has been some sort of droppings that something could happen, but the fact that they got a new run game coordinator, not a new offensive line coach yet, but a new run game coordinator.
Well, the timing is weird because if you're Stoutland, I would think you'd be like, we should have just done this a month ago. He would have been the most sought-after offensive line coach in the NFL in a year where there were 10 new head coaches in the NFL. I mean, so I'm sure one of them or many of them would have wanted to get Jeff Stoutland. So I think maybe from an Eagles perspective, they said let's not agree to this divorce until we have someone else in place here. But yeah, it feels like just from some of the reporting, I think it was NFL Network yesterday said, I don't know if he said blood in the water or something, but basically where teams around the NFL looking at
If you're the Giants, Commanders, or Dallas, you got to be picking up the phone, right?
How about the
Forget every other team too, but yes.
How about the Jets? Frank Reich hired as the OC. Yeah. I remember when Frank Reich got that Panthers job, I was hearing or wondering whether he was going to make a play for Jeff Stoutland at that time. So, I would think there are teams that are going to go after him.
Shil Kapati, everybody. Hey, thanks for stopping by on short notice.
Good to see you
guys. It's great to see you again, man. It's been a while. He was on your flight, right?
Yeah, he was on the flight with us.
I wasn't snoring, and I deplaned properly. I wasn't one of those guys jumping the line.
Check out the Ringers NFL podcast and, of course, the Phillies special show with Shil Kapati. By the way, he's rocking an old-school Phillies
hat,
maroon Fat P hat. All right, when we come back, Michelle Smallman is here from Unsportsmanlike. Actually, she's standing right there. Should we just bring her in right now? We'll see. Does Michelle want to come right in? We'll see if she wants to come right in. Then we will hold off on the break. Okay, so we'll stay right here for Michelle Smallman from Unsportsmanlike, who is going to be our Unsportsmanlike moment of the day. We'll tell her that in just a second here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. Yeah, we'll just keep rolling live. Here comes Michelle. And Michelle Smallman, I can't believe that she's still awake, by the way. This is going to be all right, we wanted to get you on at a time where you would be delirious.
Oh, you got it.
Did we get you at that time?
I am delirious.
By the way,
in a good way.
This is our Unsportsmanlike moment of the day here on the Sports Bash Live 97.3 ESPN. You have been a part of it many times, as has Canty and Evan. But today you are a live version of the Unsportsmanlike moment of the day. Every day at 3:45, which I think it is back home.
This is thrilling.
You are the Unsportsmanlike moment of the day. So today you were wearing satin pajamas on the set. You changed for this interview.
No, that was yesterday.
Well, it came out on my feed today.
Mm-hmm. You're a day behind.
Okay.
Which I understand. We're on a different coast.
He's been all messed up since he started on that plane.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I'm cranking out content.
I heard you say that your plan was to stay up all night.
Oh, yeah, big fail.
What have you done to adjust?
Did not stay up all night.
No?
Well, here's the thing. I was like, all right, I have to wake up at 12:30 a.m. We have to beat a set at 2 a.m. Is it really worth it to try to fall asleep for a couple hours? Maybe I just power through, right? Like the adrenaline will carry me. So last night I grabbed dinner and then I popped by an event and I was like, okay, we're hydrating, we're having fun. You can hear it in my voice. My voice is a delicate instrument. Anytime I have to talk a lot or talk above a crowd, I lose my voice quickly. And in my old age, I got there, I was like, this music is too loud. I can't be talking like this all night. I'm going to lose my voice. So I left, let's call it 9 p.m.
Wow, that's later than we were out.
Yeah.
Well, I was only there for less than an hour, and I was like, okay, I'll go home, I'll pass out. But then what happens, guys, is you get back home and you start to have sleep anxiety. You start to do the math. You're like, oh, shoot, okay, if I can fall asleep now, I'll get 4 hours. And then you roll over and you're like, oh, my God, it's been a half hour. Now I'm only going to get 3.5, and it starts to compound. So I didn't get much sleep last night. I tried to make the responsible decision and not pull an all-nighter, but I don't know if that was the right play.
So did you nap after today's show?
No.
So you've been going since what?
12:30 a.m.
That's not good.
It's not,
it's
but we're having fun.
We are having fun. And that's funny. You're talking about the anxiety. I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning. My alarm was 4:50 on Tuesday to fly out here. Well, I got up at 3, and I'm like, I got to fall back asleep. And then the whole thing kicks in of, well, if I fall asleep now, I'll be asleep for another hour and 20 minutes or an hour and 10 minutes. And then it just doesn't happen. And I went from the first day, 3 o'clock in the morning, till like it was after midnight when I finally went to bed here.
Oh, did you totally crash?
Oh, I was hurting yesterday on the air.
Yeah, no doubt.
And I haven't had I had not like one sip of alcohol out here, nothing, because it's like I don't know what to do here. And now here we are, and I was watching, I guess, the clips of yesterday's show this morning because I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, right.
So I'm trying to get back into some sort of, I don't know what to do at this point because we're leaving tomorrow. So you don't readjust, right?
Just power through. Sleep on the plane. Right? You'll sleep when you get home.
That's our unsportsmanlike moment of the day right there. Just power right through.
There you go.
We wanted to get your thoughts because a lot of times our unsportsmanlike moment of the day is somebody ripping Sirianni. What do we make of Sirianni going on right now with Have you ever been in a situation where the offensive line coach leaving has caused a complete firestorm for the organization?
Have not, but I know this isn't your average offensive line coach.
That's right.
I know he is incredibly successful. I know he loved, and I know that it's not a good look for Nick Sirianni that he might have had a hand in his departure. And listen, I don't know if you guys have heard this on the show. I'm a Nick Sirianni defender.
Mm-hmm.
The resume is the resume. I don't know a head coach quarterback duo that has had as much success as Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni that does not get the credit that anyone else would get. And I get it. People wonder what he does. He's the CEO, but what does he really do? How influential is he to the success? Who cares? They win. But this year was different. This year was interesting. And I'm interested to get your thoughts because I keep saying it on the show that I wonder if the team in the wake of this Super Bowl that has the biggest regrets is the Eagles. You had so much talent coming back from the Super Bowl team. Outside of offensive line, relatively healthy. You should have been able to be in this game. You should have been able to compete and go back to back. It didn't work out with Kevin Patullo. You never got it going on offense. A.J. Brown was obviously banging the drum. Adjustments were made too late. And you have to wonder if the Eagles missed a huge opportunity this season.
No doubt.
I think that's the way everybody in Philadelphia feels.
Yeah.
I think you hit the nail on the head. And it's where they now go, and they see the team turn to a 33-year-old inexperienced offensive coordinator. Is that the answer?
Yeah.
And
from your favorite team.
I know. I was very
We're still
upset.
salty about this.
Okay.
We made a
Do
great
we want to
pitch.
do this? Let's table Sean Mannion because we got to talk about this. The Eagles fans were so great to me. You guys were so great to me. And for those who don't know, I'm from St. Louis. My team was ripped from me, heartbroken, was a football free agent. I was looking for love. And we did this thing on Sports like the NFL Bachelorette. And 31 teams, because the Rams are dead to me, lifetime ban. 31 teams made their pitch. And you guys pitched the Eagles to me.
We did.
And I remember live on air, you were like, Eagles fans, let her hear it. And the message, people say Eagles fans are mean, they're scary, which they are, but I say that complimentary. They're passionate, they care, complimentary.
Jason Kelsey, they don't like us, we don't care.
Correct. But they embraced me with open arms, and they were so kind to me.
Mm-hmm.
They were so inviting. They really were passionate and very much wanted me to pick their team. And even though I love the Packers, the Eagles will always hold a special place in my heart because really, outside of the Packers, I would say the Eagles fans were the very best to me. So you guys have a very good squad, very good fan base.
Well, there should have been some sort of factor in of they're in like a very small Midwest town. They have to be nice. They don't have no choice.
Yeah.
But
I'm nice. They call me Midwest Michelle. To be honest, I thought about the Eagles a lot after our conversation, and I just didn't know if I'd fit in. I'm not the one that's going to be taken to the jail. I'm not the one that's going to climb the lamppost. I'm not going to yell the F word in your face. It's just not me.
That's what. Did you hear Milton Williams? They asked him the difference, and he was like,
"Yes, I heard this.
Patriots fans, like, they're passionate, but they're not willing to get in trouble."
No, seriously, the Eagles fans don't care. They're going to do whatever. And I thought I might be a disappointment overall because I'm not willing to take it there.
There's always room in the wagon, right?
Right. Well, it's because okay, we can repitch this because the offensive coordinator is from Green Bay, and now he just brought his wide receivers coach here to be the new run game coordinator. So this is becoming like Green Bay East.
Yes, but okay. Well, then do I cheer for the Dolphins because they're Lambos out? Everybody they're bringing over from Green Bay. But what you're telling me is that I should leave my husband because you guys have his cousin? Like, come on, that's not what's going to happen.
It's a good point.
I'm
I did go to
loyal.
West Virginia, so.
I don't know what you guys are doing over there.
Well, and this whole Mannion thing, it's funny because now it's like the speculation of, will somebody else get to call the plays?
I know.
Or not that. See, people have got to call the plays. They don't just get to call their own plays.
Sure.
The reporting has kind of been like Nick Sirianni's like, hey, here's the offense, Michelle. You can call it.
Uh-huh.
And that is like, it's fascinating. Have you ever seen an organization where you've won the division back-to-back years, first time in 20 years that's happened in the NFC?
That's right.
You won a Super Bowl. You've been to the playoffs all 5 years. You went to another Super Bowl. You won 11 games, and everybody thinks it's the worst season like that has ever happened.
No. Most franchises and most fan bases would die to have the success that the Eagles have had. Do you think the Cleveland Browns and the New York Jets, I mean, we could go on, the Raiders, they would die. How about the Cowboys?
Oh.
Who haven't
We
been where you
frequently
guys
bring
have
that
been
up.
in 30 years.
Right.
we've had families whose kids have had kids who haven't been to an NFC Championship
So
game.
that's an interesting. We talk about this a lot, but I want to get it from like your perspective because we're like at Philly, so people think we're being like nonsensical about it. But at what point the Dallas Cowboys have been so irrelevant that it stops becoming the team that like, oh, my uncle slipped me in front of a TV because they had a star on their helmet?
Yeah. Is
Like,
Jerry
when does
Jones
that
still
end?
the owner?
Yeah.
Then they're always going to be relevant because he is a master. He's the ringleader of the circus. We keep saying
So it's never ending.
The Super Bowl's on Sunday. The Cowboys Super Bowl starts Monday. And they're already doing it. They did it last offseason with Micah. Let's drum up all of this drama. They're already doing it now with George Pickens. They're setting the table for us to talk about them and for them to have all of this drama and all of this headlines. That's what matters to them now.
It's never ending then.
It's
We
never
will
ending.
never get out of this like America's team. They're always on prime time, even though they're not relevant.
Yeah, but as an Eagles fan, like, don't you think Eagles fans should love that? Because here's what you guys are complaining about. Your organization is unrelenting in their pursuit of greatness. You're having success, making the playoffs, going to Super Bowls, maybe not winning all of them, and that's not good enough for you. And meanwhile, the Cowboys are like, well, can we get more people to talk about us on ESPN?
Yeah,
Don't you
right.
love that?
Yeah, sure,
I would
sure.
say I agree, but I would say like the Eagle fans give the Cowboys fans too much. Like you allow them to bother you. They're irrelevant. Stop giving them the attention.
But that's rivalries. That's what we love about sport. A healthy hatred is great.
That's true, but be
Especially
better
for
than
Eagles
that.
fans.
Be better than that.
You want to hate people. What are we talking about here?
Well,
it's your lifeblood, hatred.
Well, it's like it's like the Giant thing, and the Giants just haven't been any good, and the Eagles. have just
Harbaugh
been-
now, though.
Yeah. Okay. We'll let you get out of here because you're delirious and tired, but you're doing pretty well.
I know. I'm
I know
impressed.
I would want to probably go home. Is Harbaugh akin to when, and I know he didn't win a Super Bowl, but they got to a Super Bowl in Carolina, when Washington hired Rivera, and everyone's like, they finally brought like a real adult into Washington.
Yeah.
He's given them credibility, and it just didn't work. Is the Harbaugh pixie duck magic going to work with this crappy franchise?
I think it will.
Ooh.
They've got a lot of interesting pieces on that team. And here's why I think it's going to work. Because you just said it, an adult's in the room. They fire Brian Daboll, who was the guy who wanted Jackson Dart, who got a lot out of Jackson Dart, who Jackson Dart obviously had a great relationship with. You keep Joe Shane because you need somebody to go through this search for the head coach, and you fall into John Harbaugh. You fall into a guy who's had a lot of success with the cherry on the top that's the Super Bowl. And I think he's going to come in there. He's going to provide some stability. And I think we could be looking at a Patriots-type team where in a very short amount of time they're back in the contending window.
I gave you a look like, wait, what?
I know. Well, think about it. Mike Vrabel did it in 1 year.
Will Harbaugh and Shane be able to coexist? It seems like there's already a little.
I think Joe Shane knows that John Harbaugh is the captain now.
Uh-huh. That's a captain.
By the way, our
What
sportsmanlike
is that?
moment of the
Yeah.
day is live today. It was Michelle Smallman.
Thanks for having me, guys. Fun
Thanks
to see you.
for doing
thank
that.
you.
And the unsportsmanlike moment of the day is brought to you by the Nizam's Indian Restaurant in South Jersey on Route 40. Get on out there for the big game needs. She'll be on tomorrow at 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. right here on 97.3 ESPN. Thanks, Michelle. Make sure everybody listens to Unsportsmanlike tomorrow morning at 6 with Evan, Canty, and Michelle. That's it. She's done. That was fun.
Yeah.
She's always great.
Yeah.
Great stuff from Michelle Smallman. All right, when we come back, it's our Football at 4 hour. Brian Hoyer is actually hanging out here, who is one of the analysts for the Patriots on NBC Sports New England, I believe.
Yep.
Is what it's called up there. Greg Cosell is hanging out.
I see him.
And Adam Kaplan, of course, from Inside the Birds. Our Inside the Birds Football at 4 hour is coming up next. And stick around. We are hoping to talk to Cooper DeJean and Reed Blankenship this hour as well. All live on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. And Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. It is brought to you by our friends at the Fanatic Sportsbook at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. We've got a whole Football at 4 roundtable for you here, and we're going to kick off a whole little hour of coverage here of Super Bowl 60 and everything else that's going on. The Eagles are making news. I'm Mike Gill. Of course, Scott Grayson is here. Adam Kaplan from the Inside the Birds podcast. Of course, you hear during Football at 4 all the time. Greg Cosell from the Inside the Tape show is sitting to my right. He was also on my flight, as was Adam. Was your flight better than mine? Because I had the middle seat. Not ideal.
It was 6 hours. It was long.
It was tough to sit in that middle, and I couldn't fall asleep. And to my left over here is Brian Hoyer, NBC Boston, and covers the Patriots, played with the Patriots, of course played in the NFL for years, almost played for the Eagles from what I understand here. Maybe we can get that little nugget there from,
if I can remember.
from
I mean,
that story.
played for 9 teams. It's hard to remember each and every story. Yeah, yep.
But Brian Hoyer is going to join us for a little Football at 4 as well. And Super Bowl 60 is upon us. I will say, the Patriots obviously are used to being in this game, but were you anticipating this team being in this game?
I thought they would be better than most people, just based on knowing Vrabel. Obviously, Josh McDaniels coming back, watching Drake May and his development as a rookie. I thought they made some really good, maybe not high profile, obviously Milton Williams from Philly, but some of the other signings were just very tactical, guys that fit what they were looking to do. They drafted well, and we were just saying before we came on here, I mean, they were in every single – they lost 3 games, and those 3 games take away 2 or 3 bad plays, and they win those games.
Exactly, yeah.
They've been, to me, the most consistent team the entire season, and I know people want to talk about the schedule, but if we're going off of that, then the Browns will be in the Super Bowl next year. We know that's not happening. So that's right, yeah.
So, Brian, let me ask you this question. You're a Super Bowl champion. The week leading up, what it was like for you as a backup?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was so great because all of my Super Bowl appearances were with the Patriots, and for them, it was just another week. You know, they had gone so many times that they had the scheduling, like immediately, you know, you win the game on Sunday night, the AFC Championship game. Monday you come in, you'd have a operations meeting. Okay, here's what your family needs. Take this home to them. Here's what we're doing. This is the day we're like, they had everything laid out so well. So for me, it was just another week of preparation. And for me, as a backup, like, you know, I didn't play it all a lot during those years. I went to the Super Bowl, and you're like, all right, well, if I'm going to play this game, I'm sure as hell going to be prepared.
Right, yeah.
You do extra preparation. A big part of it, too, is preparing our defense for what they're going to go against, which that was huge. That was huge for me when we were playing the Rams in 2018 because I had just been in that West Coast system with Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay running a very similar system. So I felt confident in the looks that we were going to give them. I felt confident in talking to Brian Flores and Bill and, you know, the players on that defense, whether it was the McCourties or Hightowers or Chung, whatever. Like, I feel pretty confident this is how they're going to try to attack you guys.
I think one of the things about this week that's kind of interesting as we talk about the quarterbacks, we've been asking all week long here, which of these 2 teams and the quarterback have the staying power? Like, is it one of these one-hit wonder teams, or do these 2 teams have the magic now that Seattle is becoming the new NFC team and that the Patriots will be here for the long run?
I would say, in my opinion, the Patriots are set up for more long-term success because look who's leaving the Seahawks, right? Clint Kubiak's leaving. Who's going to replace him? This is a thing that happened in Detroit, right? You're successful. Ben Johnson leaves. Aaron Glenn leaves. Like, they don't have the same season. And so I would say that's going to be a big lingering question for Seattle.
Who the OC is.
Yeah, who's the OC? You know Josh McDaniels is going to be there for a while. You know Mike Vrabel is going to be there. They've built a foundation, and they're going to be able to add those pieces. Now, I would say for the Seahawks, look, they have a lot of young talent, right? You got JSN, you got Emin Wari, you got core guys, and I think Mike McDonald's a phenomenal coach. So they will be there, but I guess my question is, who replaces Clint Kubiak?
And the question is, do they stay, in a sense, with the same system?
Yeah.
Because don't forget, he was with Kyle, then he was with Kevin, and now he was with Kubiak.
Yeah.
So all that's relatively, I'm sure there's some tweaks, but it's relatively the same.
Yeah.
So you would think they'd want to go with someone from that school.
Maybe they take Clint's younger brother, Clay, from San Francisco. You know,
Right.
like, hey, one brother to the next, and things would be very similar. I wouldn't be shocked if something like that happens.
So, Craig, let me ask you this question because you're the best to do this. So Drake May, last year, talking to the Patriots, they felt like he was coming along.
Which he was. I liked him.
But the North Carolina tape, a lot of critics out there who do watch tape in the scouting world. What could you tell us about the North Carolina tape?
Oh, I liked his tape. I thought that he had a couple of issues that were easily fixable. You know, he was a drifter in college, and that's a coachable thing. I know Brian would agree with that. Meaning that he would drop back and he had a tendency to kind of drift to his left. So what that does is you create your own pressure because the O-line is not pass protect. They're pass protecting with you being straight back on the midline. So if you drift, you're creating your own pressure. But that's a very coachable thing. Now, every once in a while he'll do that, but they clearly worked on it with him. I mean, even last year as a rookie, I didn't think he did that very much. The one thing that I think has really shown in the NFL, which I wouldn't call it a question based on his college tape, but it wasn't like this in college to the extent, is he's been really precise with his ball location in the NFL. And I thought his college tape, he wasn't exactly like that. I wouldn't call him scattershot in his college tape, but he wasn't one of those guys that was just precise all the time. But he has been really precise in the NFL.
I think the one thing, and this gets lost, is a big part of accuracy is not physical. It's mental and knowing where to throw the football. Because if you know where to throw the football based on the coverage, which you and I have talked about, you're going to get to a better open guy as opposed to, let me just drop back and I'll go through and maybe I feel like that guy's open and I'll throw it. When you know the intent of what you're supposed to do, that actually allows you to have better completion percentage because you're getting to the guy that's the, let's call it not the number one read or whatever, but the guy who's probably in the progression based on the coverage where you need to go. And I think, obviously, the physical side, I've seen him really improve in pocket presence, stepping up into the pocket instead of drifting. That's obviously goes a credit to his work with Josh and Ashton Grant and Riley Larkin, the guys that are there in the quarterback room with them and doing those drills, but also his understanding of this offense. And that, you know, how many guys lead the league in completion percentage, but also in yards per attempt? And that's because when he takes those shots, that's where he's supposed to go with the football. He's not forcing them. And so that's been the most impressive thing.
That's a great point because he looks calm and composed.
Exactly.
He's never frenetic. So here's a question for you because I think one of the things, and I would assume this comes with experience.
Yeah.
What I really like about him is his willingness to stay in the pocket, in squeezed pockets, and still deliver the football. But at times, he'll stay too long, which is why he gets sacked.
Exactly.
Now, is that just a feel thing that comes with experience?
Yeah, I think so. And look, I was never a guy who was going to pull the ball down and run, but I think there's a part of his, you know, whether it's conscious or unconscious, and he's had successes like, I don't want to have to use my legs if I don't have to. Now, we saw Vrabel in the Denver game mic'd up afterwards saying, hey, you got to make some plays with your legs. Go ahead and do it. Like it's a balance. And
the nature of that game too was
exactly.
that kind of game.
But I think what they've taught Drake is go through the progression, go with what the defense is telling you. But if you see, you know, the C's part, like that's a dynamic part of your game. And so I think that's what makes him so unique is he's not forcing the run. He's actually trying to play quarterback and do it the right way. But as to your point, I think he's big and strong, and he thinks I can hang in here and I can still throw it, and there's guys around me. Now all of a sudden the ball gets loose, and that's what's been some of those fumbles.
Right. I'm curious. Yeah.
Let me ask you one quick question for Josh McCain. You worked for him, I think, 2 places at least.
3. I mean, twice in New England and once in Vegas. So, yeah.
So what makes him so good for that?
People ask me this all the time, and I think it goes back to his experience and the way that this offense was built was obviously Josh is very smart and very innovative. And so is Tom Brady. And so were the players that were around those guys. And so each year you were able to peel back the layers of the onion, so to speak, and add very intricate, very detailed levels to this offense. It's a game plan offense. What they ran against Denver, they may not run against Seattle, but they have a very good base foundation. And Josh is as good at anybody as watching the opponent, figuring out, you know, what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, how do we protect against their strengths, how do we attack their weaknesses, and all by the while adjusting on the fly. Like when we beat the Rams in Super Bowl 53, we practiced for 2 weeks with Wade Phillips. We had a target. We knew exactly what they did, how they were going to do it. We get to the game, they've completely changed everything.
Really?
They have changed their defense because they knew if they were a sitting target like Brady and McDaniels. So on the sideline, we are literally adjusting the game plan. And finally in that, I guess it was the fourth quarter, Josh pulls the entire offense up. He says, look, I know we put a lot of work in at this for 2 weeks. If we don't come up with a new plan right here, right now, we are not going to be able to score this. We were moving the ball. We couldn't score on them. So we developed this new package, and it was basically a big package where we put Gronk, Dwayne Allen, Devlin, Sony Michel, and Edelman, because it was the only way we were going to get their base defense on the field. If we put James White back there, it didn't matter who else was in. They were going to play nickel, and we didn't want to have to do that. So that's that famous drive where we're basically in like 13 or 12.
Where Gronk caught the ball down the field.
So we've gotten that personnel to throw the football.
Recall.
Right.
Yeah.
On that, okay, you mentioned McDaniel and kind of what's going on in the league. Why do you think a guy like McDaniel flourishes in this role, but maybe not as the main guy?
I mean, I was in Vegas with him when he was the head coach, and I thought it was the greatest setup ever. I mean, it was all the great things of New England in a place where it wasn't all doom and gloom. But to some of the players out there, they saw it as doom and gloom. And I think, and I look at that situation, those guys out there, and I did something with Gruden this morning, and I don't know how you can not love this guy. Those guys in Vegas, they love John Gruden. They wanted him to be their head coach. Okay, it doesn't work out, because of all those reasons. Then Bisaccia comes in and takes over, and they love Bisaccia. So he was a good coach. So when Josh gets hired, you got a whole team of, they love the one guy, they love the next guy. Here comes a guy from New England. And the New England hate is real. I know I'm talking to a Philly station, and you guys, but I promise you, when I would go to other places, I'd be like, I don't get it. Like, why does everyone hate the Patriots so much?
Right.
You know what I mean? And so, he comes into that situation, and I didn't like how he was treated at the end there, and I witnessed that firsthand. He's a great coach. He obviously the offensive side of the football, but he understands football in general. He understands defense because he started off on the defensive side in New England, and he's been with Bill, and he's kind of created his own personality to it. So, look, I think he got the short end of the stick. I think, it probably not likely in the near future, but I think down the road you could see him getting another chance.
Well, let's flip the script if I could.
Yeah.
You obviously know the Shanahan offense too,
Yeah.
because you were there. So now.
By the way, Brian Hoyer is the voice you're hearing answering a lot of these questions, just for the people listening
that's
on the
great.
radio.
You're right. So why do you think that Darnold, because obviously when he was with Kyle for a year, then he went to O'Connell, and O'Connell has a lot of the McVay, Shanahan to him, and now he's with Kubiak. Why in your mind, does that really work well with Darnold?
Well, I think you obviously the system, but also the situation. I mean, this guy goes to New York. It's not a good situation. He doesn't have the right people around him to support him, and not just coaches, but players, and I would say even the organization.
The infrastructure.
Yeah. Same thing in Carolina. I think going and having a reset year in San Francisco where there wasn't any pressure on him, he was the backup quarterback. He could spend all that time with Kyle and the way Kyle teaches offense and learn, and in a weird way, like he never had an opportunity to learn from anyone, right? He was thrown in the fire right away. You watch Brock Purdy, and Brock has obviously become a really good quarterback. And then go to Minnesota, and I'm sure, there was talk that J.J. McCarthy was going to beat him out 2 years ago, right? And J.J. played pretty good in that preseason, but he has the injury. Sam gets the opportunity. He's got coaching. He's got players around him. He's got a good defense on the other side. And he was finally able to settle in and be himself. And so I would say, obviously him going to Seattle, the fact that Kubiak was there, who was the guy there in San Francisco with him in that year where maybe he kind of could catch his breath and learn how to play the game the right way, I think that was a huge factor to his success this season. I love it. I love it for him. I love it for guys like Baker Mayfield who go and find their way, or Daniel Jones. I mean, maybe Mac Jones is now the next in line to do that, goes out and kind of reclaims his career in San Francisco with Kyle. But that system is built to really make it easy on the quarterback. It's run the football, it's run play action and get chunk plays, it's run boots, all things that Darnold is really good at. And by the while, you add JSN, who, in my opinion, is probably the most well-rounded receiver in the league right now. He can play inside, he can play outside, man coverage, zone coverage. I loved how Brady during the broadcast last week talked about what made him so good. He's a figure skater. He can go left, right. His shoulder plane never dips. This guy is running these routes. He's so smooth that these defensive backs, they don't know which way he's going. And I just saw Ocho Cinco here, and I got to spend time with Ocho in 2011. And when you talk about a guy who can go full speed and he can run a comeback, he can run an in cut, he can run a curl, he can run a post, like that becomes really hard on the defensive backs.
Wow.
I definitely, listening to Brady talk about Jackson Smith and Jigba, and you think about their offense, they get him the ball all the time, and they
a
don't
lot of
have
different ways.
like a guy that you're like, well, there's the other. I mean, yeah, Shaheed is kind of like the deep threat there.
Yep.
So they do such a good job of getting one guy the ball, because when you look at their offense, it's not this offense that's got like, much like in Philly, where you're like, well, how do you take care of Brown?
Sure.
And what do you do with Smith? And then you got Saquon, and that's why it's very unique that their offense is able to do what they do with really one big weapon.
Yeah,
on
and I
that
think
team.
Kubiak, the way he uses them, like the touchdown in the championship game where he motions them to the backfield, and now all of a sudden, they had a stack receivers over here to the left. Now when you come to that backfield and they're stacked, that triggers an adjustment in cover 4 to box, and that's where they make this box with the defenders, and now you get him out of the backfield in the middle of the box running the flag, and it's such a good, well-designed play.
As soon as I saw that play, just to show you how sick I am, Brian, you know what play that popped immediately into my head?
Which one?
When Kyle in 2016 was the OC for the Falcons.
Yep.
And he threw a touchdown against Seattle to Tevin Coleman.
Yeah,
Do you know
because
the
he
play?
ran the flag out of
You
the
know
back.
the play I'm talking about?
Yeah, exactly. Because I played for Kyle the next year,
It
and
was
he
the
would show it.
exact same play.
Yeah, exactly.
It was the exact same play.
Yep. But Tevin Coleman was actual running back, and JSN's a receiver.
Right.
So
But
it just
the
goes to show
concept
you
was
that
the same.
the concept is the exact same. Yeah.
All right, Greg, we got to switch our view to the other quarterback in this game. And I got to tell you, Sam Darnold's stunned me. That team that he had, the championship game, he was so good. Obviously, Brian as well. What do you see from Darnold?
Yeah, I think, well, first and foremost, I do want to say this, and I feel like it's not being talked about a lot. He led the league in quarterbacks in turnovers this year.
Right.
14 interceptions. I think it was, six fumbles lost.
Yeah.
That's so. There's a recency bias. He hasn't had a game like that in a while, but in a way, that could be the downfall of the Seahawks in this game. If the Patriots can stop the run early, take away some of the easy boots and the play actions, and turn this into the drop back game by Seattle, and we know when he's faced pressure, it's either a turnover or a big play. Like, it's 50-50. You don't know what you're going to get. And so I have to imagine that the defensive game plan for the Patriots is to make Darnold beat you from the pocket. Don't let him get out. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league throwing on the run outside the pocket. I mean, he's athletic. He's got a hell of an arm.
Yep.
You got to contain him. You got to make sure that you push the middle of the pocket with good rush lanes and try to make him beat you from the well.
Well, it's funny you say that about stopping the run, because one thing that, because of Vrabel being with Bill for so many years, that they've been able to do, the Seahawks against other teams, which I would imagine the Patriots will stop, is setting the edge.
Yeah.
Because the Seahawks have been able to get to the edge a lot in recent weeks. And I can't imagine that the Patriots are going to allow that to happen.
I think just based on, now I never played with Vrabel, but I came in right after he left, and when the one thing I can remember Bill saying to the defense all the time, set the edge.
Right.
And no one set the edge better than Mike Vrabel.
Right.
And so as a player, if he did something really well, what is he going to want his team to do? So I think that's the thing.
Because they run a ton of outside zone at 12 personnel.
So having been in that West Coast system, everything is off of the outside zone. And what they do really well is, and I can hear Kyle in a run game install right now saying, you go to the D gap. If they give you the D gap, you go around the edge. If they set the edge, now you go to the C gap.
You keep working one gap inside.
And he goes, we may hit the backside B gap, but I want to hit it all the way to the numbers.
Right.
And so I think the Patriots, you're right. They're going to set the edge, and then everybody inside is going to have gap integrity and not try to overplay it, because that's when Walker will cut it back.
And then the linebackers can't overplay
exactly.
it. They have to stay.
Yep. They're all that West Coast outside zone scheme. All they're banking on is one guy getting out of his gap.
Correct.
And if the back reads it correctly, and all of a sudden the Mike linebacker is supposed to have the front side A gap, and he overplays to the B or the C, that creates that crease, and that's what those guys, they are hunting for that nonstop. That's what they do. That's where Kyle or Clint, in this case, is going to watch the tape and say, who's the guy who doesn't have gap integrity? All right, then maybe that's going to be the place where you cut this back and hit him.
But you're exactly right, because I know that's the way they teach it. You start outside D, and if it's closed off, you keep working one gap inside.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Greg, when it doesn't look good for Darnold, what does that look like when he struggles?
I would say Darnold struggles at times when the pocket gets really muddied, and you can see him speed up his body. You can almost, it's not an X and O point, but you can see it. He speeds up, and so what happens is his mental process speeds up and his physical process speeds up. And that's when he'll throw balls, he'll lose a little bit of ball location, and he doesn't see it exactly the way you should see it.
So has he taken a step from Minnesota to Seattle, or has that changed a little bit for him? Because everybody was like, Well, Minnesota won 14 games.
Well, he was
but
really good last
Sam
year.
Darnold, right? But then the one game. It's almost like people are judging him off that one game. Has he made the improvement?
Well, that's because of his history. So
correct.
As Brian said, if he has the bad throw or whatever, people are going to go, there you go, we're waiting for that.
Exactly. I mean, that was the story of my career.
Yeah.
I mean, when I would play well, everyone would always say, well, let's see.
Right.
Let's see. And then eventually you have a bad game, and then they're like, well, that's why he was undrafted. That's why he was cut.
Right.
Like, I don't think anybody should really be judged off of one game. I thought what Darnold did. I thought Minnesota was crazy to let him walk out the door, not knowing what you had in J.J. McCarthy. I thought it was absolutely just to not even offer him a deal. Just say, thanks, Sam, for everything you've done. Best of luck to you. I thought it was crazy, and sure enough, I mean, they have to be sick to their stomachs this week. They have to, because they had a team that was ready to win.
No question. But I think, Adam, in response to your question, that's where Darnold does have issues when everything gets speeded up mentally and physically. Yeah, some quarterbacks, their feet get, some quarterbacks, though, that's the way they play it. I mean, Brady's feet would get stuck, too.
You want to be
sometimes.
balanced.
Right.
You want to be balanced in the pocket.
Yeah. Right.
No, but we were talking about, Greg, I remember getting to the Patriots,
and
I remember watching Brady in practice and take a drop and literally just stop. And I was like, I've never seen this before.
Yeah.
But for him, it was about having a base to be able to throw the football. Yeah. And he could throw an 18-yard comeback that way. He could throw a 50-yard post that way. He could throw the juke out over the ball. It was just his way of getting his feet in the ground and not being – but I think what you're trying to talk about with Darnold is it gets a little choppy.
Yes.
It starts to – what? All right, it wasn't there. What do I do now? And I think that's and as much as I'm happy for Sam – I think this game will come down to how does he handle those situations.
Yeah. All right, it's Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. I'm sorry, I got to take a quick break. I got all my sponsors that are hanging out with us, including Ernest & Sons Old Fashioned Butcher Shop in Brigantine. If you're having a Super Bowl party, your party is not complete without Ernest & Sons. My guy Rocco over at Key Acura of Atlantic City. And, of course, the Nizams. You can check them out right up on Tilton Road in Egg Harbor Township. We'll be back with more right here from Radio Row on 97.3 ESPN. All right, welcome back. Football at 4 here on the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Adam Kaplan is here today. He's actually out here. Mosh not out here. DeCecco not out here. So we got Greg Cosell to pinch hit for both those guys.
Thank you.
You're doing the role of two guys at one time.
Oh, my
Greg
God.
Cosell.
That's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of pressure.
Mike Gill, Scott Grayson, of course, we're hosting the whole week here for you. We got football at 4. We're going to shift things back to the Birds here.
Please do.
Which has been crazy. We got off the air at 3:01 local time, 6:01, and Jeff Stoutland was no longer employed by the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yep.
And it starts a firestorm of, like, what happened? They got a new run game coordinator today. They already hired a new guy here.
I saw that.
So we're Ryan Mahaffey, by the way, is the new guy. He was in Green Bay. He was the wide receivers coach in Green Bay, which kind of stinks because we had Romeo Dobbs on yesterday. We talked to him about Mannion, and he spoke glowingly about Mannion. We didn't get a chance to ask about Mahaffey because we did not know at the time. That being said, is this an indication to you guys that the Eagles are ready to change the scheme and the system that they have been running over the Sirianni era?
Yes, because coaches coach what they know. And Mannion has been in basically the McVay system. He's obviously been with LaFleur, so that's the Shanahan system. Yep. So, he's schooled in that, so he's going to coach that. And obviously by hiring him, that means that Sirianni, I assume Sirianni had to sign off on it. I don't know the dynamic in the building, but I assume he had to sign off on it. So I think they're looking to change the direction and challenge the offense. I mean, let me ask you guys this. How was the Eagles' offense this season in your mind?
It was terrible.
And how did the season end?
Awful.
So sometimes when that happens, when you expect to be in a Super Bowl every year, and that's what should be the objective, then they made changes. And they felt it was time for really meaningful changes, which I have no problem with.
You said, how was offense this year?
Yeah.
How was their offense the year before and the year before that? And the year before that?
Okay,
how would you guys describe the offense in the Sirianni era as maximized?
Let me ask you this. So in 2024, they won the Super Bowl, correct?
Yes.
Okay. They had an historic season from a running back.
Correct.
Okay. The quarterback had 9 games in which he did not throw for 200 yards. Okay. Now, they won. So you can't like that. That's for most people. That's the end of the conversation. But for coaches, that's not the end of the conversation because that ultimately is not good enough as a sustaining way to play in the NFL. You can't play with your quarterback for whatever reason. This is not a blame on Jalen Hurts. We're talking about a pass game that for 9 of the games that Jalen Hurts started, they did not throw for 200 yards. That's not sustainable.
I agree with you 100%. So are we about to see a coordinator and a coaching staff rely more on the quarterback or what they have done in the past, the running back / offensive line, which let them down
and quarterback who could run.
Right. I think it becomes a combination, Mike. I think what they're going to do, and I could be dead wrong, but I think the very nature of what they did with the hirings indicates that they want to challenge Jalen Hurts and ask him to do things that he hasn't really been asked to do a lot of over the last couple of years, and they want to challenge him.
Is that because they are considering or trying to figure out if Jalen Hurts is their quarterback beyond? Because he's going to be due for an extension here in a couple of years.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, Adam probably could speak to that better than I. Look, the guy's been in 2 of the last 4 Super Bowls, obviously counting this year. He was an MVP in last year. So, look, going into this season, there were many people, smart people, who said, hey, he'd reached the level of being a top 5 quarterback in the league because of getting to Super Bowls. But I think if you're in that building and you're studying the tape and, you know that he's a nice player, he has certain strengths and certain limitations. And in many ways, he's a piece. And if you can't run the ball, the question becomes, is Jalen Hurts the guy that, can Jalen Hurts, go 27 for 42 for 380 in a game that demands that?
That's a great question.
I mean, is that an obvious yes? Would you say that's an obvious yes?
I would not say that's an obvious yes.
Yeah.
Greg, I would say.
Although the 2 games that you've asked him to do it, he's done it.
Which games?
Super Bowl in 2023?
Yes, he had a very good Super Bowl in 23.
Right, and I wouldn't say that.
Can't take that away. Oh, he's had games.
Right, so it's like
we're not talking about a bottom third quarterback.
Right. He is polarizing.
But the point
He's in
is,
the upper half.
point is, they're telling you what they think. People are probably going to listen to this and go, "Oh, Cosell hates him." They're telling you what they. We don't have to guess, Mike. They made a dramatic change in what the offense they're going to run.
All right, so speaking of that, Greg, what I thought was clearly deliberate. Almost every candidate they interviewed is from the West Coast system.
Yeah.
They wanted Daboll. As I told people 3 weeks ago, just ignore it. He's not coming here. He's going to go to Tennessee because the top head coaching candidates wanted him, and then the GM wanted him, so that was over with. But almost every guy they interviewed, Mike, had a West Coast background.
Yeah.
Mahaffey's in here, but he's going to be the tight ends coach, as I understand it, not just the run-game coordinator.
Correct.
Okay? They've almost flipped the entire staff.
Yeah.
And almost all of them, Mike, are from the West Coast system. As Greg just said, they're telling where they're
They're
going.
telling you.
New system.
And that's a good thing, though, right?
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing.
Right, and so Sirianni right now is getting a lot of heat of, like, what happened with Stoutland. This is your fault. Like, you disrespected him. Or is it the other way of him saying, you know what, we did something my way for 5 years. I got to let it go, and it's time for me to change. Or did they force him to do that?
No, I think it's the latter. I mean, we don't know. We're not in the building, but I think it's the latter. I think that they probably had a lot of meetings. I can tell you for a fact from somebody I know very well that Jeffrey Lurie was incredibly pissed off.
Ooh.
And that he was very involved in what happened. So, my guess is that it came from the top, that there were changes. They told you. We don't have to guess this, Mike.
He was in the – Mike, Jeffrey, when it's not good, like Jeff and I put this out after the awful Bucs loss, the end of the 23 season. Jeffrey's super upset. We'll see what happens.
Well, what did Mayock tell us was told Scott and I the other day, it's not coach quarterback that's most important. It's GM coach that they're on the same page. So do we think that GM coach and Philly are now on the same page and weren't? Or them being on the same page is them saying, Stoutland, sorry, it's over?
Let me just add this on your question, Greg and Mike and Scott. This is deliberate to change the system.
Yep.
Okay. My understanding has been I started to get wind of this like when we started seeing the names come out, and then Jeff and I on Inside the Birds had some stuff. I'm like, okay, this is not like them to want to run a pure West Coast system. What is going on here? Well, they tried it when Doug was forced to hire Rich Gangarello. That was a disaster. You can't force it. Nick had to be on board. And by the way, the offensive system that Nick really brought in 2021 wasn't West Coast, but it was close. As we were told then, it was a timing-based system.
Right.
But because Hurts doesn't play with timing, Scott, as you and I were talking about yesterday, not good enough. Greg knows better than anybody.
They're basically telling Jalen now that we're challenging you.
Yeah.
I agree. That's a good point.
Well, you remember when Nick first got here and he called the plays, they were throwing the ball 40 times a game.
When he first
not a
came
lot
in,
of success.
21, yes.
Right. And then he said, we got to change this. We got to start running the ball. And then
that's because where Nick came from. He came from Phillip Rivers and quarterbacks that were capable of doing that. Mm-hmm. And they found out then, now that was 4 or 5 years ago, so I don't want to say what can and can't be done right now. But back then, Jalen wasn't capable of that.
Game 8 of the 2021 season, the Eagles, as we now know them, were born.
Right.
They became a run-first team because of that offensive line.
Correct.
So when you're fascinating me, Greg, with this whole theory about how they're going to challenge Jalen, and I think listening to you, I think you're right. Through what you've seen, even go back to him in college, is he going to be able to get the ball out quickly? As we talked about yesterday, Adam, can he get it out quickly enough?
Look, I could well be wrong because they made this decision, okay? And there's a lot of smart people in that building, okay?
Sure.
I don't see Jalen as, let's say, a Kyle Shanahan-type quarterback. But could he be more, and I'm not comparing, what I'm saying now is not apples to apples, so I hope people don't take it that way. But could he theoretically be more in the McVay vein of a Stafford? Now, again, I hope people don't think I'm saying he's Matthew Stafford, who in my view is a Hall of Famer.
Uh-huh.
But that while there's major timing involved in that system, it's not as quick rhythm necessarily. The Shanahan system is incredibly quick rhythm. I personally don't believe that fits Jalen's style,
I would
but
agree.
maybe they see something that I don't. And like I said, they have smart. Look, if you're trying to be fair, I know Sirianni's probably getting ripped. I'm not in Philly right now. I don't listen anyway to sports talk radio, but I'm sure
Cheap
Sirianni's.
thanks, Greg.
Yeah. What's that?
Cheap thanks, Greg.
Yeah. I'm sure Sirianni's getting ripped, but Sirianni's won a lot of games as head coach. We're not in the building. We don't know the division of labor. We don't know what's done. But the reality is he's won a lot of games. His record's pretty damn good. You can't say he's a bad head coach.
Right.
They've won a lot of games, and they've been in 2 of the last 4 Super Bowls and won 1 of them. So, I think he deserves the benefit of the doubt here. He's obviously doing something, but to get back to your point, I don't quite see Jalen that way. Maybe they do.
I think your comparison with potentially what they've done with Stafford is fair, because there's a little time for that to develop,
right.
And maybe Jalen can slot in there.
Right.
Greg, one thing that you taught us on the Inside the Tape show on Inside the Birds platforms is that when you look at Jalen late in the season, if you isolate throws, you go, wow, these are some timing-based throws.
Yeah.
And there was the one that against the Chargers who were like, it might be the best throw of his career.
It's funny you say that because it just reminded me, and I saw Donovan McNabb today and said hello to him, and it reminded me of when I spoke with Andy Reid after they drafted McNabb, and a lot of people said, oh, my God, McNabb, he ran that offense at Syracuse. It doesn't fit in the NFL. You guys probably all remember that. And Andy said to me, he said, look, we literally watched every play, and there were many, many plays in which he played with timing, played with rhythm. We know we can get him to play like that. So maybe they look at just what Adam said and saw that any number of throws, because there are throws like that. I mean, he is an NFL quarterback. We're not talking about ninth graders here. He's an NFL quarterback. So maybe they looked at, all the throws over the last couple of years and said, you know what? There's enough of those throws that we think that we can build upon that, and that could be more foundational to our offense. I'm sure that's what they did.
So what happens 5-6 games in, and this offense is over his head?
Well, I think if you're bringing in a brand new staff, you got to give it some time.
Patience, in the offseason. So
you think you used the word that I don't think is.
I know. I
don't think anybody can spell that word in Philadelphia.
I would agree with that,
Mike, it depends. You got to have context. Who's it on? When we watch the game, if we know it's clearly on the quarterback, well, there's a reason why Jared McCain might be still in the roster. We'll see. He's still under contract for this coming season.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, and don't forget, Hurts is obviously going to be the starter, but they're going to have a pretty good idea going through OTAs, minicamp, and training camp where Jalen is in context of how he's learning it. Look, I'm not speaking out of school. We all know that Jalen, personality-wise, can be stubborn and intractable. That's his core personality. He's going to have to open his mind a little bit because this is going to be something new.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is just my opinion. I'm a big believer in coaching. I was very fortunate in my career to be taught the position by Bill Walsh, who I got to know well. It's probably the thing I'm most grateful for in my career. I think you've got to come in and, yes, you understand what he can do and what he can't do, but you can't then just write off what he doesn't do well and say, well, we're never going to do that. I think you've got to challenge him and say, hey, you know what? We're
zone and create a new one.
And I think that's part of what they know they're telling us that.
Yeah.
Because they signed their entire offensive brain trust, so to speak, putting Sirianni aside, is now putting in something brand new that Jalen does not have any experience with at the NFL level. So he's got to learn this from scratch.
It's a lot to ask, guys.
Yeah, there's a possible big change coming, and a lot to ask a guy who, by the way, won a Super Bowl MVP.
And that's why I'm
How
sure.
How does he react to that?
Right, and I'm sure fans are probably. That's why fans may be thinking that, oh my God, this is terrible. But they obviously made this decision.
Well, and they kind of needed to, right?
Like
couldn't
I asked,
keep. You couldn't
well, that's
keep
why I
going
asked
down
you.
the
How
road.
was the season?
I don't know. It's a great question, but it is ironic. A team that won 11 games back-to-back, divisions, coming off a Super Bowl.
But the
win.
way they lost, and even the way they won a lot of games, was not. It didn't look good.
Mike, let me say this about the question you just posed. In a building where Jeffrey Lurie I've talked to so many coaches who work there, high demands on offense, You think he would settle for this? It's embarrassing.
Well, as many people have pointed out who are not in our market, you won 11 games. You went to the playoffs.
But it's how you season
and
collapse,
it's like,
Mike.
can you imagine Cleveland? And we're like, well, we don't want to be Cleveland, but are we irrational?
Right. Well,
Do
we also
act
know
irrationally.
We also know that Jeffrey does like the passing. He
No
likes to see
question.
passing.
That's what we're talking about, Scott.
Yeah. And so, I mean, wasn't there a game this year where Jalen had 0 passing yards in the second half?
Buffalo. Buffalo was one of them, twice, yes.
You're right. That's utterly embarrassing.
See, that kind of thing stands out, and I'm not saying that's the reason for the change, but there's no question that's unacceptable in the building.
Sure.
But yet, Scott, you see his first Super Bowl was the best game of his career. He was let me tell you something. That Kansas City
Even though
game
he threw to the wrong guy on the A.J. Brown touchdown.
still worked, and he fumbled, which fans love to point out.
Right.
But yet he was so
Which he did, by the way.
Yeah,
Greg,
I know.
Greg, but you've seen it when he's aggressive. You always used to tell me he's feeling it.
Right.
You've seen it.
No,
when he's
that's why I
aggressive.
said he's an NFL quarterback. I don't want to give the impression that the guy can't play. He's an NFL quarterback.
I know you don't do rankings. You said
he's
put him in
made
the upper
throws.
half. Yeah.
We've talked about that on Inside the Tape numerous times.
Yeah.
And I think they probably, like I said, studied all that and feel like, you know what, he can play in this offense.
So what does he, like you watch the tape, what does he lack in the tape to make people that he stands out as more than just, well, he's a winner? Does he have any intangible or arm or accuracy, or does he have something on tape that stands out?
Well, he's made those kinds of throws. They do exist. And I think they feel that they can get him to play that way consistently, because that's what this offense is.
Mike, the final quarter of the season on our Inside the Tape show with Greg would point out, hey, he would actually tell us, hey, I want people to see this throw, because historically Hurts won't make that throw. It started in the Charger game where everyone killed him for the 4 turnovers.
But he actually made some throws in that game. Yeah,
you go, this is a big time, the Minnesota game.
Right.
Some big time throws.
Yeah.
And then the question is, why can't he do it more?
Right.
I can't
so
answer
if he
that.
can do it, then why don't you ask him to do it more consistently?
Well, you don't. That's a hard question to answer, But look,
it's a fun conversation.
There are a lot of coaches who believe, and even Bill Walsh believed this because he was so sure of his coaching ability, that if he saw a guy do something once, he believed he could get him to do it over and over and over again.
Wow.
And there are a lot of coaches who believe that.
Well, I'll tell you what, this offseason should be interesting. What do they have to target? Because I'll ask it this way. A.J. Brown is signed. Devontae Smith is signed. The whole offensive line is signed. Hurts is signed. Barkley is signed. The only guy is not is Goddard. If you're going to change this offense, is it personnel or just scheme?
Well, you always want good person. That goes without saying.
Well, they have good personnel.
But
the offense hasn't been any good.
Well,
you can't change. Yeah.
This
the
year,
O-line,
this year the offensive line was not good at all. I actually spoke to a coach who told me that he thought that Juergens was the worst center in the league this year.
Wow. He was at the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, I know. Well, so was Shedeur Sanders.
Well, they couldn't run the. They couldn't run.
They tried to get Justin Fields. Did you see that?
He said no.
He said no. Yeah.
They couldn't run the tush push because Cam's back was so.
Yeah. So I mean, look, maybe the point is he was playing. So I can tell you from what I learned the day I started working with Ron Jaworski, who told me that, hey, if you're playing, the injury thing is irrelevant. You're playing. So, but the point is, they signed him. He's going to be the center.
Uh-huh.
The O-line was a bottom third O-line in the league this year. Don't forget Lane Johnson missed, 7, 8, 9 games, whatever it was.
Yeah.
So, again, I don't know if that's going to be addressed. We know how he feels about the lines. They could address, I say this truly. I almost feel sorry for Landon Dickerson because he strikes me as the kind of guy that's going to struggle to walk when he's 35.
Uh-huh.
And and you see a lot of guys like that, and I just feel badly. But who knows with his injuries how much more he can play at a meaningful level.
So Mike asked the question, what do you do with personnel? First of all, Howie's got to look at depth in the offensive line. They got to get Lane's replacement at some point soon, sooner rather than later.
Better depth.
Fred Johnson was a nice story. Was a quality backup.
Can you imagine if they didn't get him?
Yeah.
Would you try to bring Mekhi Becton back?
He
didn't play well this past season.
But now and Stoutland's not here anymore.
Exactly. Good point, Scott. So that's another story. So
a lot of change.
There might be 8 new coaches on offense. It's crazy.
It's crazy
how it's changed, Mike. So
got to get
better depth.
They have to have guys be able to step in. If the starters don't look great or not available, that was a problem.
I mean, I think the Fangio's coming back, which I assume he is based on everything you read. It's a big deal.
There's been some reporting today that he will be back.
It's a big deal. They're going to have to look. It's very possible Reed Blankenship is gone, so they're going to have to address the safety position because in Vic's defense, safety is so critical. And Blankenship was a key to the. He may have been the key to the defense in the way he controlled the back
and then if he leaves, you got Makuba coming off injury, and what else?
Well, that's the thing. They're going to have to address that in free agency.
I'll tell you what, the defense was very good all year, but there's a lot of questions on that side of the ball now. If you lose Phillips, you need another corner. You're probably going to need another safety. Obviously, Dean is probably going to go. So you got Campbell here, but you got to decide what you're going to do with Phillips, and you got to get a corner.
Edges and corners. Yeah. Mike, they need an outside corner opposite Mitchell in the worst way.
Yep.
And they got to look.
They need more edge rushers.
Well,
guys,
that
was a fun conversation.
That was awesome.
Now that we got it all figured out, they'll probably go 17-0.
Yeah, absolutely.
Am I right?
I can't wait to see OTAs and all that stuff.
Drifts going to be very interesting. 23, you can go a variety of ways here. You can go offensive line, you can go edge, you can go corner. Who knows? They could do something crazy. They could trade A.J. Brown.
You wonder what they would get for him.
Shield Kapadia was on with us earlier. He said a top 50 pick.
A top 50 is what he
sure.
thinks.
The question is, do they get a first? Now, you need leverage. You're probably going to need multiple teams. Team playing the Super Bowl. New England's tried multiple times.
All right, Greg Cosell. Thanks, man.
That was fun, guys. Appreciate it.
Adam Kaplan, Football at 4, of course, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Make sure you check out all the Inside the Birds content for the offseason now coming up for the Philadelphia Eagles, and we know it will be a very interesting. It's been interesting already, and they haven't got the free agency yet with all the coaching decisions. All right, we got another hour coming up. Stick around. We are tentatively scheduled to talk to Cooper DeJean in like the next 15 to 20 minutes. We are hopeful for that. Also, coming up later on in the show, we'll talk to Dan Graziano, what he's hearing about Philadelphia. And we want to thank Greg and Adam for Football at 4. Scott and I will be back with another hour of the Sports Bash live at Radio Row in San Francisco.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for
that was fun.
That was a fun conversation.
That was good shit.
Yeah, I mean they're telling you what they're doing.
That was great. No, I don't know if they could hear me or not.
But when I'd move the mic closer to me, then you could hear.
I don't know what was going on. He's like, Adam's mic's not working. I'm like, I hear him.
Yeah. It was like, I have it. I don't know.
Well, anytime you go 5, it's like
goes
information.
5. Yeah. That was great. Thanks, man.
Thank you. Thanks for getting
Thanks,
Ryan
Greg.
over here, too.
That was awesome. Good seeing you.
I knew they wanted to do it. Well, he had said he was really scheduled for 3. I said, we'll see if he wants to go. I accepted for her.
I learned that early. That teams tell you how they feel about the quarterback. So she told me you're trying to get me in like 215. Valley lady.
Okay, cool.
You're gonna try and say she's like, I want to get you guys in. So if anything, we pre-record after 3 o'clock. Yeah. I got you. 97
Just gotta sit down.
Yeah, I know.
I know. I gotta. Do I have time? Hey, Josh. How much time in this break? I gotta go to the bathroom.
I'll separate. Gracie can hold us down. I'm kind of booked up rest of the day. You guys can. Yeah, I see him because his grandson plays basketball. Yes. My name's Nick Trump. Yes. Oh, boys. Shit. one of my favorite things about the you go throw the ball 30 under whatever the number is, 31, 35. Yeah, 49 small ball. So you're telling me you're not allowed to put the ball line. That's people don't think before this game. It's a damage stat is what it is. Because you don't trust your quarterback. Exactly. The idiots on Twitter, it's like I'm in the middle. I'm not a fan, so it's like this is what I know. And I'm fair. Greg will tell you that Hurts is maddening sometimes. Why can't he? What do you do? Like we talked about the throw starting the Chargers. I know that he has to do more plays. Everything good. He made some unbelievable throws. One device, the right side, he went. That was a timing coach. What did he do? We didn't know what kind of. We were like, what the hell is he doing? It's kind of a weird game. Turn my mic off. My mic off? Should be. Josh is in the studio.
All right, another hour from Radio Row in San Francisco. It's been a crazy day. That was a great hour. That was
absolutely.
awesome.
Yeah.
Brian Hoyer, by the way, who does the Patriots NBC Sports Boston, kind of the sister station NBC Sports Philadelphia. He does a Patriots podcast there. He played for the Patriots, played for like 9 different teams. But remember Brian Hoyer with Cleveland had a decent little run there in Houston.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was fun listening to him. And then Greg Cosell breaking down the tape.
Greg had a lot of great points, I thought. Yeah. Especially what it means for Jalen Hurts now, potentially in this offense.
Well,
challenging him. And
he does agree that the offense is about to change.
Yeah. And they you know, and there was some talk about whether the Eagles might try to how he loves to get ahead of the salary cap. Would they try to get ahead of the salary cap by extending Jalen Hurts perhaps, this year instead of next year? Look, he didn't have the kind of year that to me warrants extension, and now you're putting him in a new offense. There's no point and really no reason at all to extend Jalen until you know whether or not he's going to fit in this offense.
Well, listen, they were in a precarious situation with Jalen from the start. They draft him. He's not the starter. Then he gets the job, has an okay year. They bring him back. He takes him to the Super Bowl and is almost the MVP of the league. And at that point, he has to get a new contract. You have to pay him not based on the 2 seasons, based on the 1.
Right.
So the first year that he had where he was average as the starter, the first year when he was a rookie didn't count. So he played 3 years in the NFL. 2 of them, 1 he didn't do anything. The second one he was okay. And then the third one he's an MVP candidate. So then when he's up for a new deal, he's saying, hey, here's my year.
Yeah.
Pay me on that year. And it's like, well, you had a year before that you were, it's like, I want to see more. The Eagles weren't afforded to see more, and now they have this situation where they have this quarterback that makes a lot of money. Now, he's not one of the highest-paid quarterbacks in the league anymore, based on when he got that deal. Others have surpassed him, but they've always been in a precarious situation of paying him what to pay him based on what he's done. Now he's a Super Bowl champion. So does he say, you got to pay me like a Super Bowl MVP, or do you say, I'm just looking at the numbers, and I'm saying the numbers aren't equaling, the ROI is not there for what you're getting paid.
Right, or do you say, you know what, I don't think we're going to pay you at all, and we're going to start looking for another quarterback here over the next couple of years. I think Jalen's under contract till 28.
Well, we know if somebody can get out of it, Howie's the one.
Well, no, there's yeah.
But is this the precursor of that, though? You brought up the point with Greg Cosell. Okay, now we're going to put you in an offense where we're going to have to ask you to do more, and if you can't, then we have to make a tough decision.
I don't know how other people feel. I've been waiting for somebody to push him out of his comfort zone because he's been stuck in this area where I think, when we say they've become predictable, has he become predictable? And he doesn't want to run. That's obvious.
Who, Jalen?
Yeah. So, what is he going to do to make himself evolve? I mean, if you look at things like every quarterback has to evolve in some way or else you're the same thing. I mean, everybody has to do. And as you get older, maybe you don't run as much and you got to figure out how to throw better or find a system that works better for your skill set at that time. I think Jalen, he should be wanting somebody to challenge and push him to evolve into this better skilled, more wide-ranging, talented quarterback who can do things and beat you in multiple ways based on what you're trying to do to him defensively.
Although, unless he feels like getting out of his comfort zone will expose him.
I think any human being would feel that way, right? That's why it's comfort zone.
But let me also throw this into the mix. Why do I need to change? I've won a Super Bowl. It's almost
because
like
the league has caught up to you, Jalen.
It's like the Ben Simmons thing, where people said you need to start shooting the ball. No, I don't. I'm an all-star.
Right.
No, I don't. I was a third-team All-NBA player. You need to start shooting. No, I don't. I scored 17. He was okay with his accomplishments. Now, I don't see Jalen Hurts as the kind of guy that's just okay with his accomplishments. He seems like the guy, like when we asked Benjamin Watson, I think you asked him the question about Brady, and he said, basically insinuating he couldn't enjoy winning the Super Bowl because he wanted to win the next one.
Right.
And it's almost so why would Jalen, who seems to be more in that mindset, not be willing to now do something to help get him another one?
Yeah, well, he's, I thank Josh for this too. He's guaranteed through 2027. So 2 seasons. I think it's the perfect time for the Eagles to figure out what can he be what can he evolve into? Can he evolve into anything else, or is this who he is? And yes, he's a Super Bowl winning quarterback, and everybody loves in Philadelphia that he helped bring that title back, the second one for the franchise. But I think when you look at this offense, I think it's very clear, and I thought Greg Cosell brought up the great point. They are challenging him to evolve, and if he doesn't want to, they are putting their money on this offensive staff and saying, if you will not evolve, I think the message there is, like Greg said, read what they're doing. They're saying if you're not going to be able to evolve into the kind of quarterback we want to run this offense, we'll go find one. And then the question becomes, do they already have one in Tanner McKee, or do they have to go outside and look at one in the draft this year? I mean, look at the draft. It could tell you something this year about what they think.
Well, if they do what they did, where they drafted Hurts in the second round.
Right.
If they find a quarterback in the second round that they like, now you're on high alert.
Absolutely.
Now your feet are to the fire. And especially if that quarterback is more of a passer, more of a, I don't want to say West Coast oriented, because I mean, I guess you could find one in college. You don't see many of them in college.
True. You have to really piece together what you see, and your scouting department's huge in that regard.
It's a fascinating situation coming up for Hurts and by the way, for everybody tuning in, and I'm sure you heard yesterday, Jeff Stoutland is no longer a part of the staff. All signs are pointing, as Greg Cosell said, all signs are pointing that the scheme is about to change, and this offense will look different. Through hell or high water, they're saying it's going to look different. Now, you could blame whoever you want for Stoutland not being here. You can either blame Sirianni and say he's the problem, blah, 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 or you can praise Sirianni for identifying that we need to change. I don't know what side of the coin anybody's on out there, and you can text in on the White Horse RV text board at 609-403-0973. You either say, and Cosell seemed to hint at that Sirianni's doing something right, and that he's willing as the head coach to change. His quarterback better be willing to change with him.
Well, that's okay. That's a great point in where Sirianni is, because I'm still sitting here going, I don't know how much Sirianni really decided this needed to happen as much as he was told this is going to happen.
Man, see, I do think I think Sirianni gets a bad rap of him being
unaware
of his surroundings. I think he knows that the offense sucked. He can't be that obtuse.
No, you had to be able to realize that they did. I mean, you listed it, right? You've got A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley, a great offensive line that was coming back from the year before. Dallas Goedert, who's one of the better tight ends around. You would have expected that offense to do a lot more. You're right. I would hope that Nick Sirianni would have been one of those people expecting it to do more. But there's one play in particular, and different people I've been around have mentioned this. When you think back to fourth down in the playoff game, and it was a do or die, you needed to have it. The Eagles were inside the red zone or right around there. And they go over on a timeout, and the camera's kind of hovering right around them. And it's Nick Sirianni, Kevin Patullo, and some of the players. You can tell that they're not exactly understanding what Kevin Patullo's trying to run and why he wants to run that play. And Nick Sirianni kind of comes over and nods like, yeah, do it. And they all kind of look at each other a little bit like, this isn't going to work.
I would say yes to that. I would also say, Jalen, you have a voice. Step in and say, Philly, Philly. I mean, obviously not run up, but
I get the point you're making.
What play do you want to run?
Right.
In that situation, if
come over and have a play in mind.
If everybody's sitting there staring at each other and no one's saying anything, you say something. You're the MVP of the Super Bowl, damn it, and it's the season on the line. You say, guys, this is the play I want.
Yep.
And then they look at each other. All right.
Doug
Peterson had no problem saying,
okay,
all right, let's run it.
No, it's a great point. And do you think Jalen could be that guy, though? Because I don't see him being –
I almost can't believe that he's not that guy.
I go with you there, too, yeah.
It's crazy to me that Jalen isn't that guy of yo, guys, there's the scene in the Hard Knocks, the last one, where he's sitting in the auditorium with Nick. And who said it on our show that his relationship with Nick, it's like the only person in the room. It's the only person in the building that he does trust.
It was from the Jeff McClain Uncovering the Birds podcast.
There you go.
McClain came out and said that, at this point in time, the only person that Hurts will listen to is Nick Sirianni. And part of this because basically Hurts has been looking for Sirianni for and now I'm using my own words, like affirmation, for him. And now he's got him on his side, and now they like implicitly trust each other.
All right, 609-403-0973. Right. I was surprised. McClain actually said that on the podcast was the one guy he does trust is Sirianni. And that you see that scene with the two of them in the room, and he says, we'll be back.
Right.
And Sirianni says, I have no doubt.
Uh-huh.
And at that point, it's almost like,
And
I
really-
have no doubt, because everybody that was a part of this, they're out.
And really quick, just to go back to the Hard Knocks episode, don't forget the setup, the seconds before that moment. Nick Sirianni is the end of season meeting with everybody. Everyone files out. Hurts walks to the front of the room, waits for Sirianni to stop talking. Hard Knocks turns off the microphones. Then you see that it's only Sirianni and Hurts left. They only turn the mics for the show back on for that moment that Mike just mentioned. So you can assume apparently they were having a nice little conversation, just those two alone.
Right. Not a Sal Pow, a powwow.
Nah, exactly. You want some of these White Horse RV texts, Mike?
Yeah, I was going to say, let's go to the White Horse RV text board. People have been texting in all day
All
on
day
this
long.
topic.
A
And,
variety
let's
of
hear what we
topics.
got.
Yeah, you got
All right, well,
texts
what
from
do we
all
got?
over the board. Let's start with Ray in EHT. He says, I like Nick Sirianni. I think he's a great coach. But like I've heard you say a couple times, Mike, I don't need my coach to be a play caller. I don't need my coach to be this or do that. I don't need my coach to do anything except for be on board with the coachers, be a leader of men. He has to get them in the best mental shape to be physically ready for game day, says Ray in EHT.
I'm on the side of Ray. I'm actually more pro CEO coach than play call. I don't want my coach to be inundated with 3rd down and 7 and worrying about. I see McVay. I see these LaFleurs. When they're great, they're exciting. But when they lose games, it's because they can't manage the clock. They
I
can't
agree.
manage the timeout situation. And it failed the Rams. It failed the Packers. So, yes, it's nice to have an innovative play caller, but Matt LaFleur hasn't won skedaddle, right? I mean, yes, McVay did win a Super Bowl, but none of his disciples really are.
No, and I like the idea of a guy, like I want him actually paying attention to, the game, the situation, whether we need to go for 2, that kind of thing. As your team's coming down the field and when they're driving, you got to be wary of that. While you're still calling the plays, you can't really be thinking about that.
There is Cooper DeJean, and there is Reed Blankenship, by the way, and I think they are on their way in one place, and hopefully after that they are making their way over here. That is what we're hearing, what we're being told. Okay, all right, let's hope. Maybe you should double-check on that.
Well, how about I double-check this White Horse RV
Nick's
text
having a
board.
day.
Yeah, by the way, Nick is the all-star. He is the MVP of this group right now. I mean, he's just running around like a chicken with his head cut off. And by the way, speaking of a chicken with his head cut off, the only thing we've had all day is 4 wings that are still sitting there, cold as can be, because we just have not had any chance to even get to them. I will say, just to behind the scenes, usually some of these things have something in the morning, a biscuit, a something.
A donut?
There is nothing here. And I've been here since 7 a.m. You got here a little bit later than me.
I got here about 8, and I got my cup of coffee, which was needed,
And
and all I can grab is a
cup of
Snickers
coffee-
ice cream
right.
bar.
I had a cup of coffee at 7 a.m., and it is now, 5? 2 out here, but I don't know. It's like
It feels longer than
sad.
that, you're saying.
We're having a day, Josh. I mean, and listen, I
It's
know
been a busy
nobody
day.
listening is like, woe is you guys. You're in the room with like Emmitt Smith and but the energy in this room is nuts because of the amount. Like Stephen A. Smith just walked by us not too long ago with an entourage of like 25,000 people.
It's like that every year, too, which is crazy.
But, earlier, if you check out Mike Gill Show on Twitter, there's a video. It's Emmitt Smith and Jerry Rice, and they're like sitting in my lap. And it's like, you got the 2 greatest running back and receiver of all time. The energy is crazy. And then your head is on a swivel of like, well, who else? If I see Emmitt Smith and Jerry Rice, I don't know if I can top those 2. But, like, who else is walking around? And then you're like, oh, there's Kurt Warner. There's Bijan Robinson. So it is a very, very, like, tiring, high-energy thing. It's fun.
It wears you out.
But it is work out here. It does. And by the way, of all of us, Nick is the one running around like the craziest because he's the one that's booking and trying to get the times to work and where are you? We're over here, our table, and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, well, we're all grateful
What?
Nick is with us here.
Wow. He got big time like the Schwein. We'll see. All right, what else we got?
Jack Kim
White Horse RV text board here.
Yes, Jack Kim Courthouse says, Mike, I can't believe you just compared Jalen Hurts to Ben Simmons. Jalen will evolve to an MVP of this league. You watch, save this text, says Jack Kimmey Courthouse.
Jack, I'm not doubting it. I'm saying as a comparison is that's what happened to Ben. Ben was unwilling to evolve. Jalen might have to now take that next step.
Right. This is where we find out.
And by the way, Jalen has taken steps backwards. He has stopped running. He's like, it's as if Ben Simmons, it would be like as if Ben Simmons, I mean, he never shot, but it was as if he stopped then like scoring 2-pointers. Hurd stopped running the ball.
I would have loved if Ben Simmons would have just taken the dunk instead of passed it.
That would have been optimal, yes.
Against
but
the
like
Hawks,
it would be like Ben's. It would be like if Ben just stopped scoring altogether. Like the guy in his peak was scoring like 17 points a game, so he was still scoring, just didn't have a shot. It would be, and that's basically Jalen Hurts took away the one thing that he did really, really well, which was run the ball, and he just took that out of his offense.
Well, when you but the problem is that I look at that and get irritated about, Mike, is when you stop and say, okay, well, what did him running the ball do? I mean, at times it might have required somebody to be a spy. Well, that's one less guy in coverage. That will make your job throwing the ball easier. When you do run the ball, getting 3, 4, 5 yards here would be huge.
Scott, I talk about it all the time. When you had Barkley at 2,000 yards a clip, for a season, I should say, 7, 8 guys in the box, which means in coverage there's only 3 and 4 guys.
Yep.
This year they didn't run the ball, so 7, 8 guys aren't in the box. Those extra guys are now in coverage. So now the coverage is way different from the quarterback's vantage point than it was a year ago.
And you can argue whether this is a good thing or a bad thing because it means he's not taking chances, I think, a lot of the time. Jalen hates turning it over, and I do love that. Turnovers can kill you.
Greg Cosell
they can affect the game.
Said something that really stood out. The Eagles had a bottom third offensive line. Now, I don't know that I've heard anybody go down that low.
And that Cam was the worst center in the league.
Yes, that Cam
That was
Jurgens,
wild.
he talked to somebody who said he was the worst center in football this year. But most people, because you have Pro Football Focus, which is such a well-known publication. And, by the way, our conversation with Keyshawn Johnson, he kind of touches on that topic. I think we're going to have to air that tomorrow, by the way. We're kind of running out of time. But we'll see. We still have our conversation with Keyshawn Johnson, Evan Cohen, Romeo Dobbs. We still have a lot in the can that we haven't quite used yet. But the Pro Football Focus is still grading the Eagles' offensive line as one of the better offensive lines in the league. Greg Cosell from Inside the Tape, who is the preeminent tape guy in the NFL. Like, when people want tapey read, they go to Greg Cosell. And he's saying they were a bottom third offensive line.
Yeah, that is alarming, which is where maybe they looked at it and said, hey, this is the time to make a change in terms of Stoutland with a new offense and a new scheme. And they got to get these guys to do things better and play better on that line. We'll see.
We do still have Dan Graziano coming up. And he will be at about 2:40 today.
Which
so
is
we'll take,
5:40 out here.
Sorry. I apologize to everybody that
I'm here to help. Don't relax.
Given
all good.
the times wrong. All right, do you have time for another text?
I got plenty of texts to get into. We got Jeff from Egg Harbor Township. Heard your request earlier today. He says, I'm a long-time listener, Mike. I'm in my truck. I do a lot of traveling. Listen to you guys all the time. I want to give you 2 great locations to go to out in San Francisco. He says, there's one place called the Buena Vista. It's the opening scene where his film Where a Man Loves a Woman was made. Okay. He also says there's a place where the movie The Godfather was actually written. It shouldn't be that far from where you guys are located right now, he says.
Does he have the name of it?
He only sent me a picture.
Okay, well, send us that picture. If anybody out there is listening, this was from earlier in the show. We are on 4th and Market.
Moscone Center.
We're at the Moscone Center, but where our hotel is on this street.
Yep.
So, is there anything in this area that we should check out, like 4th and Market, somewhere in that vicinity?
Another
Not
place,
like some high-end, not some high-end steakhouse or anything, just like a tavern or a pub or like a brewery, something kind of localized that if you're in San Francisco, you should check that spot out. That's near where we are.
Another local recommendation from Jeff at Summers Point, not to be confused with Jeff in Egg Harbor Township. Jeff at Summers Point says, I was out there last year, Mike. There's a fun spot called the Golden Gate Tap Room. He says it has great beer. There's sports screens everywhere. It's on Powell Street. Decent price on beers and great food.
Golden Gate Tap Room. I'm writing that down. I had a beer last night called Pulp.
Yes, you did.
Very good. The only problem was $11.
Oh,
I mean,
and that was during happy hour.
Okay, you popped it up on the screen, and then you took it down. He was telling me to look at my screen, but I didn't have my screen up.
There it is.
Gil, there's a fun spot near you called the Golden Gate Tap Room. Oh, was that the same guy? Great
Same
beer,
guy,
variety
yeah.
of sports screens.
Yeah.
It's a $4.49 Powell Street. Great food. Try the flame grilled burger. Okay, we want to go there later?
I am not picky.
Well, we went to a place last night called the Harley Quinn.
Yeah, right next to the
Right
hotel.
next to our hotel.
Not the Mighty Quinn.
Nope, not the Mighty Quinn, but not even Harley Quinn, but the Harley Quinn. And I got a beer there called
Scott,
Pulp.
are you getting any of these references over there?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Who's getting them? I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I got you.
But the beer I had last night, the Pulp. No, just Pulp, not the Pulp.
Just
it
Pulp.
was really good. I gave it a 4.5.
Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah.
Yep.
4.5.
He was raving about it the moment it came.
Yep. It was the only. It's the only beer I think I've had out here. Yeah.
Did Jeff want at the show last night?
Oh, I did. Yeah.
I
They
don't
gave us
remember what that was called.
I forget too. It wasn't anything special.
Yeah. It was free though.
It was free. Yeah. All right. What else we got?
Here comes Earnshaw. He's looked like he's had a day. Talk about needing a drink.
Yeah, right.
What do you need? What do you need? Old fashioned. All right. What else you got?
We got
This is the White Horse RV Tech Sports.
Yes, George at Summers Point says, hey, guys, I really enjoyed the analysis and conversation with Greg Cosell, this new offensive scheme that is going to get installed. Fans will either be chanting Hurts for MVP or call him to be benched by Week 8 next season, says George at
Okay.
Summers Point.
Here's a question then for everybody: is this the last season we see Jalen in?
I guess it depends on whether or not you buy him succeeding or failing in this offense, because I think that's ultimately what it means. If he succeeds, you obviously continue this, and maybe there's a great long relationship between Sean Mannion and Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni.
But is this the season you're just making if you're the Eagles, is everything based on what this season looks like?
I think so, because like we said, he's guaranteed through 27. So at the end of the 26th season, you going into a contract year with Jalen, or are you re-signing him? I mean, I don't think. I think this is the year. This is essentially a contract year in my mind for Jalen.
And this is going to be what, his 7th season?
Is it 7th or 8th?
Even worse.
Yeah.
You're starting to get to the point now where you have a guy who excelled as a runner going into his 7th or 8th season. At what point does that?
Well, he
cease?
doesn't want running to be part of his game anymore.
Guess what? You want to get paid another contract?
I'm with you.
All right, come on up. We got plenty more to go here on Radio. Dan Graziano at 5:40. So stick around for that. Still to come on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN.
We have the perfect solution for sitting in traffic.
You come with me.
The Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
All right, everybody, welcome back. The Sports Bash is live on Radio Row in San Francisco. And, of course, the big game is here, and so are we. We're getting ready for it. But we're going to take a little look at some of the things that happened with the Eagles season. We got Romeo Doubs of the Green Bay Packers joining us here. Number one, Romeo, first off, congratulations on a great season with you and the Packers. Tell us a little bit about the Eagles' new offensive coordinator, if you could. Sean Mannion, who came out of right field, is now gone from your program and is now in Philadelphia. What can you tell the Eagles fans about what they're getting with Sean Mannion?
Man, y'all got somebody who's amazing at what they do, very poised, a great human, a great ball player, a great coach. I mean, I love Sean, man. You know, like anytime I've had any questions just about, you know, the offense or just something as simple as the QB's drop or what he's reading, I think he's really amazing at what he does. And, you know, it's obviously sad to see him go, you know, because we spent, you know, a ton of time together out in Green Bay. But to make it short, y'all got somebody amazing, and he will not disappoint.
What about in terms of receivers? You know, the passing game has been lackluster there in Philly, especially lately. What can Philadelphia receivers expect? Maybe an A.J. Brown, if he were to stick around and not get traded. What would he expect in this offense?
Hold on, say that again. I'm sorry.
No. What would an A.J. Brown and some of the Philadelphia receivers expect in a Sean Mannion offense, as far as you can tell?
Oh, they're going to expect that ball. Get ready, man. That ball going to come in whatever form or fashion, whether if it's a condensed, a full width split, you know, some type of motion, whatever the case may be, he's going to find a way to get his best players the ball, man.
So, watching the Eagles offense and what they're about to get, do you anticipate a little bit more creativity, a little bit more depth to their offense?
Yes, absolutely.
How about you in Green Bay? I mean, the Packers have seemed like you guys are getting close, or you're so close to getting over the hump. What's been the feeling like there for you guys as far as how close you are to maybe getting to play this weekend?
I mean, it's very, we're all human, right? I mean, it's a bitter feeling, but clearly to be on the bright side of things, there's always something to learn from, always something to grow from. And I think this alone was yet another opportunity just to kind of reevaluate, not just from football, but within ourselves on what we need to input more into just, you know, our job, you know, life off the field, whatever the case may be. I just think we must be aligned with what we really want.
So
clearly it's the Super Bowl.
You mentioned, like, you know, Sean obviously is the quarterback coach, and he's getting promoted to an offensive coordinator. What kind of role did he have with the offense in terms of, you're saying the Eagles are about to get a little bit more excitement. What kind of role did he have in the Green Bay offense, who has, you know, Coach LaFleur, a very high-profile play caller?
I mean, he had a huge role in our offense and it was the littlest things from, you know, timing up motions or just the QB's drop, the hitches, you know, playing the play pass with obviously a run that we had with that. Like, he has that in him.
So you're going to miss him.
Absolutely.
He's a guy that, you know,
Yes.
that had a positive effect on you.
Yes.
Not that you would say the guy was a jerk or anything, but hey, we got a local guy that plays with you, Bo Melton, very interesting kid who is from our area. Wide receiver, cornerback, what can you tell us a little bit about Bo and his unique pro football experience?
That boy can do everything, man. And I got to witness it at first hand. You know what I mean? You know, he was a receiver with us.
Yep.
For some time, and then he went out and played corner, and then the bright idea came with, you know, him playing offense and defense. And
Was that his idea?
I will leave that unknown. But I know what he has put into this offense that we've had this past year. I thought it was amazing, and he grew into that role. I love Bo.
Yeah.
And
he's got a brother that plays too.
Yes, it is. You know, it's just really amazing to see. And another story. So, at the Senior Bowl, I was on that team, Christian Watson was on that team, and Bo Melton was on that team. And to make it short, we just talk about how the world works. Like, at some point, we were at the Senior Bowl together and
back together
in Green Bay for some more time. And it was just, it was a full circle moment.
What's Green Bay like?
Green Bay is a small town.
You like it?
I love it.
Yeah?
I love it. I love Green Bay, man. It's a small town. The energy is always right there. And just the, enthusiasm into the city, the care for the city, the culture.
That's awesome.
It's amazing, man.
Yeah, because there's a kid from our area that played there a couple years ago. He said, man, there's just nothing to do. But I guess if you're someone who doesn't need a lot to do, like you like the quiet kind of small nature of it. So you talked about the Green Bay and where you guys are. You played Philly playoffs last year in the run. You saw Philly this year, played them this year. Are you surprised at how, people wanted the coordinator fired? They wanted change. They won 11 games. They won the division back to back. Is that crazy when you hear that as an opposing player?
I mean,
or did they not reach expectations?
I mean, honestly, is it crazy to hear? Yes, but it's just, everyone's entitled to their opinion.
Sure.
And that's just something you cannot change, right? And again, that's just, that's just how it is. That's just how it works. And again, that's just, it is what it is, man.
My last thing I want to know from you, you wear the big thing on your helmet there. Do you notice it at all?
No,
I always wonder why, if you don't notice it, why other people wouldn't wear it, because if you don't, I can understand if it felt like I could feel this on my helmet.
I mean, I practiced in it all year, so it leads to one thing: why not play in it if you use it in practice?
But you can't tell that you have it on. No difference.
No difference.
One last one for me. Do you know A.J. Brown or any of the Eagles receivers at all?
No.
Know of them, but you don't.
I know of them, but I don't. I've never physically.
I was just wondering if you heard
interaction
any kind of grumbling about man, we should be getting more balls than we are already.
Nah, man. I mean, I'm well aware that A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are very elite at what they do, and just being a kid, obviously, witnessing it, in the NFL as I am. And at some point in college when I used to watch football on Sundays. So.
Yeah. No, you're great at what you do.
I always enjoy watching you play.
Yeah.
And your team is fun. I mean, we watch, to check out Melton and stuff. He's from our area. But, there's so much diversity in your wide receiver room.
Yes.
That stands out when you watch you guys play. And obviously, Sean Mannion will no longer be in their room. He will now be in the Eagles' room. You look very deflated by this.
I mean, I love Sean, man. I mean, he's deserved everything that he's
Are you surprised at how soon he got this opportunity? He's only been coaching for 2 years.
Absolutely not, man.
No?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
You're
making us feel better.
Yeah, man. Everybody's
Not that we're,
timeline. Yeah, everybody's timeline is different. That's just what he's got. And obviously, in a situation like that, you do not need to be. It's better to be very optimistic about.
This is Romeo Dobbs, everybody. What are you doing the rest of the week?
Just relaxing.
Yeah. Very chill guy. I like that.
Yeah.
We need a guy like this in
I
Philly, right?
know, we do. Yeah, he fit in well.
Yeah, man, I'm not going to be doing much. Man. Just hanging out, sitting around.
Good for you.
Cool. Well, it's nice to meet you, man.
Yeah, thanks for stopping by,
Romeo Dobbs, everybody, the Green Bay wide receiver here on the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. Great insight, great conversation with Romeo Dobbs. A lot there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. A lot of insight on Sean Mannion, which is perfect. I mean, that's what we're looking for here. Is to learn a little bit more about our offensive coordinator. And
he didn't seem surprised at all that he got this opportunity.
That's what you hear. You hear more and more, and I think we're going to hear more and more about that this week is, he's ready for this job. He seems to be a very bright, intelligent guy, and I love what he said about receivers, too. They should expect to get a lot more balls.
A lot more ball, a lot more depth to the offense. By the way, I want to thank our sponsors for this year's Radio Row, the Nizams, my favorite spot for Indian food in the area. It's the number 2 ranked restaurant in all of New Jersey. Dr. Roy and the team over there do a great job. Also, my guy Rocco over at Key Acura of Atlantic City now through February 28th. He can get you in an all-new Acura. Check him out over at keyacureofatlanticcity.com. And, of course, Mel and the team at Erdis & Sons Old Fashioned Butcher Shop in Brigantine. They are an annual supporter of Radio Row. And because of him, you got to hear Romeo Dobbs right here on the Sports Bash. Much more from San Francisco still to come.
It's Sixers Lakers tonight on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the Sixers, Tom McGinnis, calling all the exciting play-by-play action.
5 on the clock, back to BJ. He's got to shoot it. 3 on route. Ball game. BJ Edgecombe punctuates the dome. He knocks it in for 3.
It's Sixers basketball tonight. Coverage begins at 10 p.m. It's Sixers basketball all season long on South Jersey's radio home for Philadelphia 76ers basketball. 97.3 ESPN. It's the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
Keeping the fans entertained and happy.
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
All right, welcome back. We still do have time left in the show. Don't go away right now. ESPN's Dan Graziano sits down with us to talk a little bit more about what we've been discussing all day long. You know, Dan, he just said you're an LBI guy. We're
Yes.
a little bit further south than that.
Yep.
So you know
Understood.
Rabbit Eagle country down where we are.
No doubt.
They're not here this year.
No.
Why?
Why? Because it's hard to go every year.
Yes, it is hard to go every year, but have the expectations for this franchise gotten out of whack? Is it crazy? Do you look at this season as a failure with what is going on this offseason?
You've been to, 2 Super Bowls in, an 8-year stretch, 9-year stretch, and won one of them. I mean, there's plenty of teams that would trade places.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really about perspective. I think, but you're right, though. The expectations are high. They won the Super Bowl last year, and they really weren't pushed in the division this year. So you would think that would set them up pretty well. But the offense never got going. I'm not breaking news there. They just couldn't ever get clicking on offense for whatever reason. And as a result, they're going to change coordinators again and hope it works the way it did the last couple times. So
that's the key, though. You said change coordinators again. This is not normal.
Every year, sure. Well, look, twice it's for good reason because the guy got a head coach job. So, but they haven't really shown the ability to bring in an inexperienced one and have him have success. So this is it's a bit of a Hail Mary, right, with Sean Mannion. I mean, he's not a very experienced coach. He's not far removed from playing. I wonder what it says about Sirianni's influence and what that'll be day to day in terms of play calling and game planning and all that stuff. I mean, is Mannion a coach they have to bring along, or are they going to be able to give him the same responsibilities their last couple offensive coordinators have been given? So I think there's a lot of questions to answer. The Eagles' success, big picture over the last decade, I think buys them benefit of the doubt, but we have seen it go both ways.
Isn't that ambiguous, though?
Yeah.
What kind of freedom have the other coordinators have? Isn't that one of the ambiguous things about this job?
Sure, but I'm pretty confident Kellen Moore called plays the whole season, right?
It's not whether they call the plays;
Right.
it's whose plays do they call?
Well, that's true.
And that's been the big issue especially when you change every year. Like, how do you meld what that guy does well with what Sirianni wants to? I mean, look, the head coach, the offense and the defense should be what the head coach wants them to be, right? So if you bring in Vic Fangio, what I want is Vic Fangio's defense, great. But offensively, obviously, that's Nick's background, so I'm sure that to some extent he has his thumb on the scale a little bit when it comes to that, and I don't mean that in any kind of bad way. But the offense should be what he wants to run or some variation of it, and I think that's when they've had success, is when they've been able to blend that. And this is a different situation. Everybody else that's come in has had experience with the job before.
The great quarterbacks have to evolve, right? I mean, because defenses will catch up to them, and they have to be able to evolve. Is this really a pivot point where Jalen Hurts needs to evolve under whatever offense this is, that it's time for him to get out of a little bit of a comfort zone here and really evolve into something, or for the Eagles to think about whether or not he needs to stay here?
Yeah, well, because you're probably at another extension talks point right at this point, given where the market has gone and what he's accomplished since he last signed. So I would say yes, but I think if Jalen were sitting here, he would say, well, every year is a pivot point, especially when you're changing coordinators every year. And then if you don't work and evolve and improve, then you're not going to last. And I think his career to this point is a testament to that. He early in his career was very much a guy that, hey, what do I need to be better at? And he would go in the offseason, come back, and you would have seen the fruits of that. Now, I think what's happened over the past year, this past season, some of the stuff has come to light in terms of, what he can and can't be counted on to do. And I think, there are certain aspects of his game that may never ascend to the highest heights, which is fine as long as you lean into the others. And he's got plenty going for him. He's got the experience. He's got the leadership. He's got all that stuff. But the offense has to be something that maximizes his strengths, minimizes his weaknesses, and takes care and leans on the outstanding players he has around him. All the friction, all the A.J. Brown stuff, is a result of the offense not working well, and that ultimately goes back to the quarterback.
Is it a relationship
I don't think it is.
thing?
No, I think they had a relationship before they were teammates, right? So I don't think it's that. I do think that in an NFL building, in an NFL locker room, relationships get, stressed over the course of a season. What they're going through every day, every week is intense. So if there's a relationship issue, then it would probably be one that began this past year, because prior to that, there doesn't seem to have been any.
Yeah.
So I think it's a case of, if the offense is clicking and they're winning games, I think everybody's relationship is better.
Dan Graziano from ESPN's with us. Dan, you cover the league. How many other teams would there be an uproar if the offensive line coach left?
Oh, well, not as many as there should be. Like, that is a very important position on an NFL team, and I think you see from year to year. One example this year, a coach named Clayton Adams was the run game coordinator, offensive line coach for Arizona last year. He went to Dallas this year with Brian Schottenheimer. Dallas' run game got better. Arizona's got worse. You do see it. That is a major I work with Jeff Saturday, and this has been a thing he's been drilling into us for a long time. Like, before I tell you if a team's going to be good, I need to know who the offensive line coach is, because that guy is so responsible for so many things. On some teams, he is in charge of the whole run game. But regardless, he's got to be somebody who's coached the backups as starters, because they're inevitably going to play. Very, very few teams, if any, that get through the year with all five linemen healthy. So, yeah, Jeff Stoutland has been a major part of the fabric there, and I guarantee you that in that building, replacing him is going to be a stress point this offseason.
Well, I talked to Jordan Mailata earlier today, and he was, I think, still stunned by the we play it forward when we start figuring out, okay, we didn't know if Lane Johnson was going to come back this year or not, but I wonder how much this is going to play into that. He's only ever really had
I think that's a very fair question.
How real could that be?
Yeah, I think it's a very fair question. Look, what are you coming back to? Like, there's a lot of structure in the Eagles building, and Lane is responsible for a lot of that. And, the way this season ended, is that the way he wants to wrap it all up? Maybe not. But, yeah, I would think that who you're playing for is a big factor in that. Your position coach especially is probably the person you have the most contact with on the coaching staff, day to day. And if you are in and I'm not saying Lane is, if you are in a position where you're going back and forth, do I want to keep doing this? Do I want to hang it up? Then I would think that everything goes into that bucket for your decision, and that this would have to be part of it.
What sign does that give you that Stoutland's no longer here? What's the message, do you think, that they wanted him gone or he decided to leave? He tweeted out that he's leaving, but they hired a new guy today to be the run game coordinator, so they must have had this in the flagpole.
Yeah.
Is there any messaging that you take from, if they got rid of him, something must be going on, or is this a sign that they are willing and ready to evolve of the next era of this offense?
I would think it's probably the latter. I mean, he's part of the furniture there. I mean, he's a big part of their success, and so if they're moving on to something else, that represents a willingness to make a big change in terms of how they operate. So, yeah, I'm fascinated to see how it works, and if he lands somewhere else, and because they have talked about him as a key part of the whole thing for years.
Yeah.
Linemen and the running backs, and I mean everybody who's involved in that offense.
It's been really their hallmark as a running team because of that offensive line.
Absolutely.
Well, and Howie has put such a premium on having a good offensive line. They need to reload there.
And the other thing that they would tell you in the Eagles building is they're very big on the continuity piece of it. Like Howie would say that, it's one thing to have a young offensive lineman that you draft come into the building and like he sees the pictures of the all-time greats on the walls. It's another thing to have him play alongside Jason Kelsey for 2 years, Lane Johnson, and then now you know what the standard is without having to be told it.
That's a great point.
Where's your go-to spot in LBI?
We used to stay in Brant Beach. We had a house in Brant Beach that my parents would rent every first 2 weeks of August. And so we'd go down to Beach Haven and ride the rides and all that kind of stuff.
Nice. And you still do that?
We went back with our kids when they were young. They're not anymore. They're in college. But yeah, we've gone back several summers, and that is, I will say that's my happy place. That's because it's like the miniature golf courses are the same as when I was 8.
Yeah.
The ice cream shops. It's just something about it that always makes me feel good.
We're at the Jersey Shore all the time, so
that's beautiful.
And we appreciate your coverage and your hard work covering the NFL for ESPN. Of course, Dan Graziano, kind enough to join us right here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. Dan, thanks, buddy.
Thanks for having me, guys.
It was great to have him. It was a great way to end the show today.
Absolutely.
Great conversation. And it's a unique conversation to a team like Philadelphia that has success. It's not like Cleveland here. They're not trying to put the pieces back together. They are trying to get back to the top of the mountain. And that's pretty cool.
It is, and it's what's really interesting and fascinating, the great thing about being out here is we get all these different perspectives on all that stuff, and it's just great to –
Well, it's tomorrow. We just got confirmed for Nakobe Dean tomorrow. We are actually scheduled to go, the Cooper DeJean and Reed, we are being told we're actually going to end the show right now, and then we're going to go talk to them for tomorrow's show. That is tentatively scheduled for tomorrow, as well as Keyshawn Johnson, Evan Cohen, and so much more. You don't want to miss tomorrow's final show. I can't believe it's almost over. This has been the Sports Bash on Radio Row. Thanks to Ernest & Sons Old Fashioned Butcher Shop, Key Acura of Atlantic City, and the Nizam's Indian Restaurant.